Hello, fellow homebrewers. JP here, and I want to introduce to you the brand new Brew-Built X1 Conical Series available at More Beer. More Beer sells the highest standard in homebrewing equipment, and the Brew-Built Conicals are just that. They're made from mirror-polished 304 stainless steel, and they come with loads of features that you and I have been looking for. They have a full 2-inch bottom dump valve, which will eliminate your clogging issues, while the sturdy base includes 4 reinforced legs, just like those big Pro tanks do. More Beer also carries the Brew-Built line of options and add-ons like casters, pressure kits, and even external glycol chillers. So you can find out more about the new Brew-Built X1 Conical Unitanks by going over to morebeer.com for detailed videos on the entire line of Brew-Built Conicals. You can trust Brew-Built with your next fermentation, and you can trust More Beer to find the right conical for you. Brew-Built at morebeer.com.
If you really want to be one of the best brewers there is,
I stopped dressing all in plastic.
You better be brewing 5 to 6 times a week.
Every beer is made with love, and it begs to be appreciated.
I need something to kill the salmonella I'm kind of worried about in the eggs.
Do you find that that the hops kind of clash with the chicken embryo you put in there?
I might sleep here tonight.
It's a California king. There's plenty of room for both of us, Beavis.
How many of the brewers over there have seen your ass?
That's it. Someone's getting cut tonight.
All I have to say is, hey, McDowell, how you doing?
Now, live from the Brewing Network studios in Northern California, this is the radio program for home brewers, craft brewers, beer lovers, and beer geeks. It's your only source for live beer radio that brings expert brewers together with, well, expert drinkers. This is the radio program with a head on it. This is The Session.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Session. It's another wonderful episode we got lined up for you, and so happy to be here. It's a skeleton crew today, but I call it...
We got plenty of meat on these bones, believe me.
Yeah, it's the hardcore brewcasters in here today, the brewcasting elite.
Yeah, that's right.
We've got Bevo here, all scantily clad to deal with the heat.
That's right.
Most scantily, yes.
JP, who's not here, will be missing the show from his normal seat, his perch. We've got Tasty McDowell here, barely.
What's left of me, yeah.
You look better than you did this morning.
Well, I'm back. You know, I got some life left in me now, yeah.
You took a nap?
Short one, sure.
You did?
Yeah.
That panting in the microphone is not my dog this time. That's actually Chad sweating it out.
I'm actually doing pretty good right now.
Doing all right?
For now.
It's not too bad in here. We've been, we've got our house at about 64 degrees so that we can blow that out into the studio, and
yes.
We're okay. It's warm and cozy. And that's it. No Doc, no JP today. It's just us rocking it and bringing the show home to you. Exciting show today. We've got Rob Todd from Allagash on the program with us. And, I don't know about you guys. I've been a big fan of Allagash beers for a long time. It was probably... Well, that's... actually, I think the first Belgian style beer I ever had was, I think, was Damnation. From Russian River. And then after that, when I went looking for Belgian, I went straight to Allagash, and just what great beers. I moved from there on to Amagang and things like that. So, and they've been at it for a long time. Allagash has been making Belgian-style beer since '95, which was a time when craft beer was booming, but it was pale ales and other English-style beers, IPAs, maybe a Hef here and there, some other German things, but not Belgian beers at that time.
Wasn't on my radar.
Yeah. So I'm going to have fun, I think, talking to Rob about that and why he chose to go into Belgian brewing at a time when it wasn't now it's the new thing, right? Now everybody's got a Belgian-style something or other. So that's going to be a lot of fun. If you've got questions for Rob, 888-401-BEER, or join Beavis in the chat room. Hit the Chat Now button. Rumor has it that Rob is the nicest guy in craft brewing. So, and I have met him once or twice before and can vouch that he's a real gentleman. So it might be a lot of fun for you to call in and talk to him.
Absolutely.
If you got anything to say. I guess he put up with Chad's shit booking him for a couple of weeks, so he's got to be all right.
Yeah.
Tolerant.
I mean, this guy, he broke his finger, I think, and made a trip out here. He was doing a beer event, and he broke his fingers.
Like
in
the
between
day
some kegs,
before, I thought.
A day or two, and he still made the trip. He's solid.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. Like I said, 888-401-BEER. You can use that number a little bit later on to ask questions or join the Beeve in the chat room, and she'll get them over to me. We're going to try to keep things moving today because he is an East Coast guest of ours, and brother's got to get up early and brew tomorrow morning. So we're going to try to keep the show moving. We'll get him on in just about 25 minutes, and he may only have about an hour and a half with us. So if we seem a little fast-paced during the interview today, it's not that we don't want to get all the information out like we normally do. It's just we want to get as much as we can out of Rob's time while we've got him.
That's right.
He's a busy brewer, and we're just stoked to have him on. So we're going to try to keep things moving. We're going to talk about, obviously, Belgian beers with him, different Belgian yeasts like Brettanomyces. He's got some barrel aging programs that we can talk to him about. He's got cool ships in his brewery that he, and I mean real cool ships with the, he can open the slats at the roof and let junk, jump in there, and he uses them. For his commercial beers, which is kind of a big deal here in the United States. So I want to talk to him about that. Mm-hmm. Like I said, we'll talk to him about his Brett beers. And then he's got a couple of new beers out, particularly Gargamel, which, to me, talking to him about Gargamel today is bittersweet. And the reason is because I read about the beer, and it looks unbelievable. We're going to talk about it. Go to allagash.com right now and read about this beer. Man, Chad, this beer looks great.
Go checking it out.
You can only get it at the brewery. So that's the bitter part of the conversation. He's going to tell us about how wonderful this beer is, and then we're not going to be able to get it. Although, we'll be in Maine later this year, won't we?
That's right.
So I think maybe a trip to the brewery is going to be in order after finding out about this Gargamel today. So we're going to talk about all of those things with Rob, and more. If you've got anything else on the agenda, like I said, give us a call and talk about it. Get through my announcements quickly. Bevo, you want to?
Oh, I just got a call. Somebody from the chat just wanted to make an announcement for everybody in the chat that they are thankful that JP is not here tonight.
Oh, wow.
And he's
where is that, JP?
He's on his way to Disneyland.
Oh.
Didn't he do this like 4 weeks ago?
Is he taking like a nephew or something?
No. No.
What?
For all I know, he's going by himself. I'm not sure what's happening.
Well, that's just sad. He's going to smuggle in
Is he wearing a raincoat or something?
He's got his cat in a little...
in a trench coat.
In a trench coat. I can't figure that guy out. I don't know what the deal is. On top of the fact that his vacation is spent at Disneyland for the second time in the last, 4 months, is that he flew down there. He's flying. So I don't understand. He can fly to Disneyland.
He got a prescription for Xanax, didn't he?
I don't think he did.
Maybe he's just trying to take baby steps, because it's only an hour flight.
That's what I thought, and I know that's what he's going to say too. He's going to say, "Well, it's the time. It's when I think about sitting on a plane for 5 hours, that's when I get anxiety. But if I think about sitting there for an hour, it's not a big deal, and I don't feel like my heart's going to explode or whatever he thinks is going to happen."
What do those people think?
I am curious to find out how the flight went, though, and if anybody held his hand or whatever happens there. I'm positive he did not start the Xanax regimen that I've been recommending. I'm a pussy about that. So that's why JP's not here. And, maybe we're all thankful. You can tell the chat room. A little break from the anxiety one. It's okay. I don't know. We'll see. See how the show goes. Right. It certainly won't be, admittedly, I think everyone can agree, it will not be one of our funniest shows without JP.
No, we're definitely...
He is the funny guy.
Exactly.
So we will be missing that today. So there you go. Take that, JP, before you hang yourself. We said one nice thing about you.
Nope, too late. He did.
Yeah, too late. All right, a few announcements. Let me get through these as quick as possible. As I mentioned last week, the anniversary bus tour has come and gone. It's sold out. But the anniversary party, there's room for everybody. That bus tour is leaving at 11 a.m. In case you listen to old shows when I said 12, we're leaving 11 a.m. From the downtown Marriott, and that's because we're going to have to fight a little bit of Bay Area traffic to get to all our destinations, and I want the bus arriving at Linden Street at 7 o'clock for the anniversary party. I don't want it late. I don't want to waste any time. That's valuable party time that I need that bus to land at Linden Street. So 11 o'clock, we're going to do a whole tour. Anchor Brewing, which I'm really excited about. I've never done the tour there, actually. I've been living in the Bay Area for, I don't know, I can't remember, 15 years or something like that, and I've never done the Anchor tour, so I'm excited. I've been there, but I've never done the tour. And I think they're going to show us the bottling line and everything.
Yeah,
give us,
that group they would.
Yeah. Sure. Then we go from there. One bus will be going to Marin Brewing Company, and they'll spend some time with Arnie over there, the brewmaster. He's going to tell you about the beers he's chosen for us that day. The other bus will be going over to Moylan's, their sister companies, and Denise is the brewer over there. And I really like Denise.
Yeah, she's great.
And people don't talk about her beer enough, in my opinion. She's got a lot of award winners. She did well at GABF the last couple years, and she's a great lady. And so I'm looking forward to that too. And then on to more beer. Well, there'll be a big parking lot extravaganza. There'll be more beer from a couple of different breweries available there. Plus, you get to tour the facilities. There'll be discounts on all sorts of that gear that you've been eyeballing all your lives. A lot of fun. And then, of course, at Linden Street for the anniversary party. So that is Wednesday, June 17th. Take off work Thursday if you're local. Trust me on this one. Take off work Thursday. There's an after party. There's a lot of
big day,
beer,
long day.
You go, you buy a glass, an anniversary glass. Which, by the way, did I show you guys the logo yet? Did I show you our BNA4?
No.
You guys are going to go nuts.
Dark.
You're going to go nuts for this stuff. Beautiful glasses, beautiful logo, very cool logo. And you buy. It's like a one-stop shop. You buy a glass, you get all the beer you want at this party. So none of this ticket nonsense, none of this pay for. You just one, cheap glass, and you're going to enjoy yourselves immensely. And then it's going to be a good time. Don't miss it, everybody. All right, tonight we are doing our More Beer donation giveaway, courtesy of Beer, and More Beer. Folks over there, you go to morebeer.com and check it out. They have donated this month a two-tap draft box. Right. Now these things are great. It's got the copper coil inside a cooler, so that whether your beer is on ice or not, the beer that comes out of the other end of that tap is cold. You just put ice around the coils. They're really great to have for picnics, parties, you name it. Everybody should have entered this drawing. If you don't have a draft box and you didn't enter this drawing, I don't know what's wrong with you. Tickets were $5, or if you're already a member of the BN Army, if you subscribe and donate any amount monthly, you automatically get entered in this thing. One lucky winner today is taking home a two-tap draft box.
I want in.
We don't have one.
Yeah.
And we love them.
Well, donate.
You'd be like the coolest guy at like the 4th of July party, show up with one of those, man.
Yeah, that's right. Chad, you don't donate, do you?
I donate enough.
You do donate enough. That's true. I should have put your name in the hat. All right, so that's happening today. Toward the end of the program, we will draw the one name, the one winner. Like I said, if you're not already a recurring donor, then sign up. If you don't want to do that, that's cool. Just pay attention when I tell you. They always go for a week at a time. I tell you on a Sunday that the raffle is starting. You can donate as much as you want to get tickets, and then it ends the following Sunday. So just pay attention to the show. AHA membership's available on the web page, on the home page now. You no longer go to the store. I get a lot of emails about this. People who aren't caught up on the archives. You don't go into the store. You click the AHA logo on the homepage. That brings you to several options now to get your AHA membership. It's no longer just a 1-year option like we used to have. You can buy 3 years. You can buy family. You can buy an international membership. I used to get a lot of questions about that from our international listeners. Just click the AHA logo on the homepage. Right above that, Brew Your Own Magazine logo. Everybody here is a subscriber to that. And great magazine. Jamil writes for the magazine. What is he? Is he the style column?
Yeah,
for
every
magazine,
month
right?
he has a style column.
Yeah. Anyway, if you click that Brew Your Own logo, we get credit for the membership, and it's a good deal. And as always, for all these updates and more, sign up for our Twitter account, twitter.com/Brewing Network. Sent updates all day today about our shows. Recorded Brew Strong shows today. 3 of them, as a matter of fact. 3 great shows. And if you were signed up for Twitter, you got updates about that all day. And then, of course, you can sign up for our Facebook page. You get that there. All right, Shat, what's happening in your world? Give us Shat's announcements.
Well, we got the San Diego International Beer Fest coming up on June 14th, and entries for that, it's a homebrew competition, are due the 26th. So definitely get those in. Saber's coming up on the 30th, end of the month here in Washington, D.C. On the 31st, Sunday, we're going to be in Napa, Downtown Joe's. Going to hang out with Colin, do Sunday session up there.
Come on out for that. Colin really wants, he loves meeting BN Army members, showing you the brewery, letting Downtown Joe's that you appreciate their support of the program. He keeps telling me, please, I really want to meet more listeners. He loves meeting you guys. So come out and hang out with us on that day.
Great staff, too. I mean, his bartenders, everyone there is just fantastic. So,
if I remember right, every time we've done a remote there, About every hour on the hour, without fail, Colin makes his whole staff and us slam a beer together. He likes to have fun while he's out there, and he kind of can't get out of having fun when you're hanging out with him.
Great location.
Yeah.
Schwartz Brewery Homebrew Comp. That's taking place in Australia. So our Australian guys on the 6th. Check that out. And also on the 6th of June is the Monterey Beer Fest. And we're going to be down there doing some shows and some interviews and partying, of course.
Yeah, our Sunday session will happen on that Saturday from the Monterey Beer Festival. And we're going to set up our whole deal there and interview the brewers who are pouring there and the organizers of the festival. And then that will be our Sunday show for the week, because I don't know that we're going to be able to air it live. So we'll air it at its normal time on Sunday for you guys. So that's the June 6th Monterey Beer Fest.
Cool. And then, of course, June 18th, the start of the NHC, National Homebrewers Conference, right here in Oakland. And it's going to be a great time. I mean, we just did a dry run, essentially did the Sam Adams long shot judging right there at the Marriott, and what a great staff they have as well. They're great to work with. Bart was fantastic just getting around this weekend.
Yeah, Bart was.
Everyone's going to love it. So
I used Bart quite a bit this weekend and loved every bit of it. Realize, getting from the Marriott and the Trappist to Barclays is a piece of cake.
Oh yeah.
It's I think it's 3 stops max to go between those two great beer bars.
Right.
So Bart is going to be everybody's best friend during NHC.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, of course, at More Beer, they've got their monthly special going on, Make Beer This Summer. Just click on Regan, and essentially you can get all kinds of discounts on temp control, conicals, all kinds of good stuff. And they're going to be doing that monthly. So make sure you click on Regan on the front homepage, morebeer.com. And also, More Beer has a pretty cool thing going on. It's called Buy This Beaker. So if you click on the Buy This Beaker link, it's basically a chance to win a trip to a Siebel Advanced Homebrew class in Durango. So it's free to enter. You can enter for free, by sending in your address, your name. But if you buy this little beaker, I think it's like $4. You can buy 20 of them, and you have 20 entries into this contest. I think it's like a couple $1,000s for this class, and essentially you just have to pay for the air and hotel. But man, you have this 5 days worth of advanced homebrewing classes, and
sweet,
they're giving it away for buying these little beakers. So
good deal.
Buy this beaker. Check it out on the.
How big is this beaker?
Yeah. It's 150 mil.
Well, it is little.
So if you ever need 150 mil worth of water kicking around, that's kind of what they're saying is this is what you need.
Yes, you need this beaker. All right.
And
I got to look into that. It's weird. I got to ask them what's going on with that.
Well, essentially they had some kind of mistake happen, and so they have a shitload of these.
Oh, they got a bunch of beakers. I see.
It's supposed to be 1,500 milliliters.
Well, that's cool. I like that they make it into a contest, because it's kind of win for them. They can get rid of that stuff, but it's also a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Hey, get you into this contest.
Buy this accidental purchase.
So they're shipping these useless beakers all over the place.
I love it.
And I think I'm okay saying this because I think it's on the website. So
yeah, okay.
And then also I had someone send me this link. Go to stopthemndrinktax.com. Basically, this is a site dedicated to they're trying to double the tax on beer, wine, and spirits in Minnesota. So check out stopthemndrinktax.com.
Go to brookstonbeerbulletin.com. It's .com or .org. I always forget. Go to Brookston Beer Bulletin and read the few tax articles he has on his front page there today. I didn't read through all of them, but there's apparently a lot of stuff with beer tax going on right now. If you want to educate yourselves and see if there's something you can do about it, go there. Brookston Beer Bulletin. He has a lot of information about these beer taxes. Yeah.
That's all we got.
All right. Chat's announcements are brought to you today from the boys over at White Labs. You can go to whitelabs.com, check out all the new stuff that they're doing. It's always a lot of fun. Rumor has it that Mike White and possibly Chris White are going to be on the BNA4 bus tour with
Excellent.
us.
Oh, wow.
So you might have some celebrity guides along on the bus tour.
Cool.
And if you haven't figured it out from the shows, Mike White is a hell of a guy to be around on something like a bus tour. And he will go. he will wear us out that night. Mike White might be the guy who could. I don't want to throw down any challenges that are undue, like got done to me. But if there's anyone besides me that could, go up against Brewtat, Mike White has defeated me on many occasions. That guy.
He'd be up for the challenge.
I can't keep up with the dude.
Oh yeah.
So good guys over at White Labs, whitelabs.com. You can check it out. All right. What else do I got going on? A little bit of feedback today. And by a little bit, I mean really a little bit.
Oh, my God!
You've got mail.
Kick ass.
Just a couple of things. Josh from Maine. He's a new listener. He wrote in and says he's been listening for about a month and has managed to make it through a good chunk of the archives, the Sunday Session, Jameel Show, Brew Strong. He says, while I've only managed 2 batches since I started brewing a year ago, the BNs lit a fire under my ass to do more. And I know everything I've learned since I started listening will make my next batch significantly better than the previous ones. Somebody from my club, which is the Southern Maine Home Brewers, you can go to www.brewcrew, brewcrew.com. They sent a link to Fossil Fuels Brewing Company. And I guess it's this beer, you guys may have heard about it. It's a beer using millions of years old yeast. Yeah. They got it off a pottery or something and brewed a beer with it.
Right.
And essentially, he's asking if any of us have ever tried it, because it is available at a couple places in California. Yeah. Have you tried this beer, Jason?
No, I haven't. No. Not that I know of.
I think I saw a place in Mendocino, which would make me think that one of you guys would have tried it. It's up there. And there's another place in Guerneville, another place that you guys should frequent, that I thought maybe somebody had it.
On the radar.
On the way. Yeah.
It looks interesting. I'd be willing to try it. He wanted to know if it sucked, basically, this Fossil Fuels Brewing, but
can't say.
I didn't. I've not had it, but I bet it's fine. Just because the yeast is that old doesn't mean it's not a.
No, not at all.
They could clean it up. I'm sure if they're selling it, if it's on a regular basis, if it wasn't just an off, let's try this beer and they're giving it away,
right?
Can't be all that bad. I don't know.
No, they wouldn't have named the brewery that if they hadn't got the yeast and decided that'd be a good name for it.
No. Anyway, he says, loves the show, had a great time hearing the changes from our very humble beginnings to the point where he seemed to have a good head of steam. It's pretty humble still, but yeah. Keep it up, Josh from Maine. P.S. Suck it, Schumann. I will pass the message.
Good show for him today. A maniac.
Yeah,
another
that's
maniac
true.
on the show.
That's right. All right, so here's a first for us in the feedback and in general. Someone is sending in their application for Drunk of the Week, and it was sent in ahead of the show today, ahead of even our start time. Justin, I'm sending my application for Drunk of the Week via email this week as I don't have a phone anymore. My best guess is it fell out of my pocket in the taxi at about 1 a.m. Saturday night, but that's pure speculation. For all I know, I left it in the toilet at Paddington Inn after doing some drunk texting. The occasion was the Aussie Homebrewer Forum 2009 Sydney Pub Crawl. And here's a list of the pubs I went to and what I consumed in one day. At Lowenbrow, he had a half-liter of Hofbrau Maibach. At Lord Nelson, he had a pint of Old Admiral Old Ale, a pint of Nelson's Blood Robust Porter, a pint of Trafalgar Pale Ale, English Bitter, a pint of Three Sheets Australian Pale Ale, and a pint of Victory Bitter, ESB. At the Australian, he had a schooner of Little Creatures Stimulus IPA, a bottle of Gulf Brewery Pilsner, Kangaroo Pizza. I don't know what that is.
He must have ate something.
I guess that's food, yeah. At the Belgian Beer Cafe, he had a bottle of La Guillotine, a bottle of Timmerman's Fruit de la Forest Lambic, a bottle of Rodenbach. At Macquarie, he had a schooner of Schwartz Pale Ale. At Tap House, he had a schooner of Rocks Brewing Red Ale, a schooner of Hargraves Hill ESB, a schooner of Two Brothers Growler Brown, a schooner of Hofbrau Munich Helles. I'm not done with the list yet, guys. Is anyone keeping count?
Wow.
At the Paddington Inn, a schooner of Hogarden and 3 schooners of Heineken. On the train, he had a bottle of red Fanta, which I think is soda, isn't it? Is Fanta a beer over there? Over here,
I don't
Fanta.
know. We'll cut him some slack there.
Yeah, and at home, he had a large cup of blueberry sugar-free cordial. I don't know what that is either. To make matters worse, he says, what would have been a half-hour train ride home turned into a 4-hour nightmare as I fell asleep and woke up in Penrith 45 minutes past my stop. When I caught the train back the right way, I woke up in Sydney again past my stop. Third time, luckily, I managed to get out of my stop and get home. Looking forward to the show. I'll be in the chat. Cheers from Josh, a.k.a. Who Ate All the Pies. We've gotten a lot of angry phone calls from Who Ate All the Pies, I do believe. Might be good that his phone doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So what's a schooner of Heineken? Is that like a boat full of Heineken?
Schooner, yeah. Is that like
How big is a schooner?
Yeah,
I mean, it's obviously a Australian measurement of beer.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that
half liter. No, he would have said half liter if it was a half liter.
Yeah, because there was a couple where he did. Well, he used pint. He said half liter on one, and he said pint on the others. So is a schooner
like
smaller or larger than a pint?
Maybe somebody in the chat know. I don't know.
It should be larger, shouldn't it? With a name like schooner,
right?
You know.
Yeah, boatload of that Heineken.
Beavis, is he in there? Is Who Ate All the... Ask him how large a schooner is.
Okay.
What are you eating? Ice?
Ice. I'm going to mute my microphone now.
Thank you. All right, so that's his application for Drunk of the Week.
Wow, that's official.
It's from last night, though. Now, I think that the list is good, but I don't want to set a precedent where people can, use their Wednesday night drunk fest as their Drunk of the Week.
Yeah, that's...
right.
It's... A schooner is 425 milliliters.
Milliliters.
Carry the 1, 5 inches. 70.
All right.
Yeah, calculator.
Nobody knows.
All right. Well, okay. Thanks for that.
Oh, no, shit.
So it's not a half a liter.
How come it's not on our measurement chart there? Yeah. Oh, it is right there.
So it's less than a half a liter.
It's less than a half liter?
It's 42% of a liter.
God, we're stupid when it comes to these measurements. Okay, well, that's still a lot of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
no doubt.
He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 schooners. 5 bottles of 10 schooners, 5 bottles, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pints, and then another half liter.
Yeah.
It's really, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised he got on the train. Never mind, slept past his stop.
Must have had a buddy.
Had to get on the train 3 times.
Yeah, he did. That's really amazing.
Wow.
Okay, feedback's brought to you today by Williams Brewing. You can go to williamsbrewing.com. And don't forget to support all our sponsors. Williams Brewing, I don't know if you've noticed, has stuck with us for quite a while now. And the reason it's because you guys support them for supporting us. So please continue to do that and let them know. Let all of our sponsors know that you appreciate their support. Because I'll tell you, times are tough for everybody. And our sponsors have stuck with us through all this.
Sure.
And I'm really appreciative of that. So just want to point out that you guys, even if you've maybe let Williams know before, let them know again.
Absolutely.
They've stuck with us. So, all right. Quick break, right? And when we come back, we're going to talk to Rob Todd from Allagash. You can go to allagash.com and do yourself a little bit of research. Get ready to ask questions. 888-401-BEER. It's a Belgian Beer Show with Rob Todd, and I'm looking forward to it, for one. Join Beavis in the chat and ask us questions. And hang in there. We'll be right back.
Listening to the Brewcasters. On the Brewing Network.
BN Army members, are you looking for a discount on hops? Keep listening. Nico's Homebrew Supply at nicobrew.com has hops by the ounce and by the pound. Choose from varieties like Amarillo, Centennial, East Kent Goldings, Hallertauer, Simcoe, Summit, Tomahawk, Warrior, Willamette, and more. And adding new varieties all the time, many for less than $20 a pound. Whether a couple ounces at a time or an 11-pound bag, all hops are shipped vacuum sealed and frozen straight to you. Nico's Homebrew Supply offers store-wide $5 flat rate shipping and won't waste your money on unnecessary overhead or advertising. They're going bare bones and passing the savings on to you. The staff at Nico's Homebrew Supply loves to brew and is committed to keeping homebrewing affordable and accessible to anyone who wants to join in this great hobby. And for a limited time, use coupon code BNARMY at checkout for a Brewing Network discount. Visit nicobrew.com. That's N-I-K-O brew.com for your hops and more. nicobrew.com, your bare bones buddy in the brewing business.
Look at you, brewing on this fine summer day.
Sun's out, the kids are having fun, and I just got my shipment for more beer.
But aren't you going to run into temp control issues with your ferment? Those yeast are going to fry.
Normally I would, but this is temperature control month at More Beer, and they're having a huge sale on all sorts of products to help me keep my beer cool while the yeast do their thing.
Really?
Yeah, like these things here. With this stopper thermal well, this firm wrap carboy heater, and this temp controller for that old fridge over there, I can keep my beer at exactly the temp I want when I want. No more high ferments, no more unhappy yeast.
Man, I got to check this stuff out.
You better hurry. The sale is only for this month.
Well, alrighty. Point me to your computer. And kegerator. I'm thirsty.
Right over there.
May is temperature control month at More Beer. Come join them for huge savings on things that you need to make beer this summer. Visit morebeer.com and click on the picture of Regan keeping cool in a swimming pool. Temperature control month, only at Beer and More Beer.
The Brewing Network brings together the winner of the Sam Adams Long Shot competition and the most awarded homebrewer in history to do battle in the next chapter of The Jamil Show. Can you brew it? Every episode, Jamil Zainasheff and Mike McDowell lay their reputations on the line to brew your favorite commercial beer and put their results to the test. Perfect match or perfect drain pour. Tune in for the recipes, techniques, and interviews with the pros that answer the question, can you brew it? The Jamil Show, Can You Brew It? Airs every other Monday on the Brewing Network.
This is www.thebrewingnetwork.com.
Sit down next to it, grab yourself a paper towel, and watch those yeast have sex.
You're listening to the Brewing Network.
And now back to the Brewcasters.
The Brewcasters.
On the Brewing Network.
All right, welcome back to the program. Thanks for sticking with us. I do believe I have Rob Todd on the line. Hang on just 1 second. I've also got another phone call. We got a new listener, and I'll do this real quick before it gets too late in the show. Wanted to call and tell us he's enjoying the show. Who are we talking to, caller? What's happening?
This is Abe Froman from Medina, Ohio. What's going on, guys?
Abe, what's happening, brother? Thanks for calling in.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for being there. I mean, my wife's off on an internship right now, so I've been just bacheloring it for the last 10 weeks or so, and been working on my all-grain line and trying to put that together as cheap as possible, and having the archives to go back and listen to. It's kind of like having a buddy that drinks a bunch of brew working on the stuff with you.
You've got several of those buddies here that do that. Yeah, no problem, man.
Absolutely. My wife came home this weekend. We just brewed our first all-grain batch. We brewed a Belgian wit, which is in our fermenter right now, and putting together the rest of my kegging line. So hopefully on Wednesday or Thursday, I should be able to put that into a keg and
sounds great. Well, you're listening to the right show because Rob Todd's a Belgian-style brewer. So if there's anything, any improvements you want to make on that Belgian wit, then you're in the right place. You might hear some good tips today. So,
excellent. Well, I wanted to let just to give a little bit of feedback. You and the boys have been saying that you wanted to know where new listeners actually found BN.
Yeah.
I was hanging out with my wife at a brew pub in Benton Harbor, Michigan, called The Livery.
Okay.
And just sitting there chatting with the bartender. She's a home brewer, and we're just talking. And as I got progressively more drunk off of their Red Cask Ale. Oh, it was wonderful stuff.
All right.
She suggested it, and plugged it in my iPhone and downloaded it, and have been hooked ever since.
Beautiful. BN listeners speaking the gospel. I love it. That's
great.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be done.
Too, my favorite episode was the Doctoberfest, the first Doctoberfest.
It was a good show.
One of my favorites.
Well, thanks very much, brother, for the support and for listening. I appreciate it. I got to get to Rob, but hey, keep brewing, man. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Cheers, brother. All right. Always nice to hear. Thank you for the phone call, and I like to hear that the Army is spreading the word for us.
It's getting out there.
Letting people know. Hey, Rob, are you with us?
I am with you.
There
and I'm
he is.
actually, the last caller was brewing a Belgian white. I'm actually drinking a Belgian-style white.
Is it your Belgian-style white?
What's that?
Is it yours? Is it an Allagash?
Indeed it is.
Yeah.
Yep, just opened it. So hanging out on my porch, just drinking a beer.
Very nice. Well, I'm really glad to have you on the show. Allagash has been one of my favorite breweries for years, so I'm excited to be able to talk to you finally.
Thanks.
Now, I met you at the Craft Brewers Conference just briefly, just this past year in Boston. It was a pleasure to shake your hand.
Yep.
And did you have a good time at the conference this year?
I had a great time. It was a blast, yeah. It was a little different for me because, in past years I've been able to go to a lot of the talks and do a lot of the events, and this year, because it was so close to the brewery, we brought a big crew from the brewery. So
great.
I was actually in meetings most of the time, just trying to introduce our crew to a lot of our wholesalers who were there.
Okay.
But I did have a great time. It was a blast.
What is your distribution like? You must have a fairly large network of wholesalers.
We have a fairly large network. We're in about 17 states right now.
Okay.
And it's funny, we've got a pretty large network because when I started about 14 years ago, and for the first 10 or 12 years, really no one was drinking the Belgian-style beers, and we just couldn't sell much of this beer, so I spent a lot of my time just going out trying to get wholesalers and just opening up every state I could so we could sell enough beer.
Okay.
So we developed a pretty big network of wholesalers, and now I think we've got about 25 wholesalers in 17 states. And it's funny because about, as probably a lot of your listeners know, 3 or 4 years ago, the Belgian category just took off.
Yeah. Sure.
And since then, we have not been able to keep up. And we've even had to pull out of a couple states.
Wow.
And we might have to pull out of a couple more just because we cannot make enough beer.
Nothing worse than pulling out early. Things are going well, and before you know it, you're done. You didn't want to be done, but what are you going to do if you can't keep up?
It wasn't the finish you were thinking of.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy. I never thought about that.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about that for you, actually, Rob, exactly what you're talking about, because, and I wanted to ask you about it, because you got into brewing. Allagash opened in 95, if I did my research right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And you started right with the Belgian
brewery
beers.
in 94, and then started actually selling beer in 95.
You did. Okay. And you went straight for, when you created the brewery, you created a Belgian-style brewery at a time when this category was not a big, I think to say not a big category in the United States is an understatement.
It was an almost non-existent category. And for the first really 8, 10, 12 years, it got easier after 8 or so years, but not a lot, and really didn't get. It was tough to sell these beers till just a couple of years ago. No one had really been exposed to them. No one was drinking them, and our flagship Allagash White, which is the beer we started with, I used to walk into potential draft accounts and pour them a beer. And they'd look at it, and it was cloudy, and they'd say, what's wrong with it? Was their first reaction.
Right.
Was it cloudy? And then they'd taste it and say, why does it look weird? Why does it smell weird? And really, no one had been exposed to the Belgian-style beers, or very few people had, and very few people were drinking them back then.
Yeah. See, I think, now, knowing what I do know about you and about your beers and about your brewery, you got into Belgian beers because you loved the beers. You loved the style. Yes. But that's still, I commend that, but it's kind of a ballsy move to become a solely Belgian brewer in a desert of Belgian beers out here.
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. We just loved the beers, and we always wanted to brew them. And really, for the first few years we were in business, we weren't selling a lot of beer, and I was having to go out and open up all these markets just to make enough beer to survive, or to sell enough beer to survive.
Okay.
And I can't tell you how many times I got told by wholesalers, other brewers, retailers, why don't you guys do something more accessible? Why don't you do a more kind of mainstream beer? And that's not why we got into this, and we just always stuck with the Belgian thing. And now, over the last couple of years, it's obviously, as you guys know, the category has really taken off. But had it not taken off, we'd still be doing the same thing.
Okay. Well, I do have a lot of respect for that, but it is great for you now that almost every brewery is making one style of a Belgian beer, which every time I think somebody else sells a Belgian beer, it helps you guys out too, doesn't it?
I think it does, yeah. It just helps to build the category. Even though there's some awareness for it now and people are finally drinking the Belgian-style beers, I think the category's still got a long way to go. And I think it's great when other breweries come out with beers in the Belgian style.
Yeah. Now, what got you into them? How did you discover Belgian beer? Because I didn't discover Belgian beer until it was, kind of the beginning of its popularity out here. I had my first Russian River Damnation.
That's a great beer. I was actually drinking that. I was just at Seattle Beer Week 2 days ago, and I was drinking Damnation with Vinny, the owner of Russian River, and he brews some obviously phenomenal beers. I love his beers.
It is. I had his, and it turned me right on to Belgian beers. I went to yours after Russian River. See, I had a choice. I had selection around me. You didn't. So how did you get into the style?
And it's kind of another whole story, but I stumbled into the beer business and really learned the trade at Otter Creek Brewing, which is in Middlebury, Vermont. And while I was brewing there, we used to, during, say, like a month's period, all the brewers there, everyone that was working there, would just get 1 or 2 beers each week at a local liquor store, or they'd grab some beers if they were traveling around the country or even out of the country. And we just accumulate, say, 30 or so beers, put them in the fridge at the brewery, and then after a month and a half, we'd all sit around and just try the different beers.
Okay.
And that was the first time I got exposed to the Belgian styles. And I don't know if I immediately fell in love with them, but I was intrigued by them.
Yeah.
And I was intrigued by the fact that they were so unique. And once I started drinking more and more of them, I absolutely did fall in love with them.
Okay. Yeah, and see, I think that's what turned me on to Belgian beers, too. I've had a lot of bad Belgian-style beers, but they're still intriguing. You use that word. I like it because they're still very complex. They have a lot of uniqueness that you don't find in other beers. So even the bad ones, I enjoy analyzing and figuring out what they did to it. So, I think it's a headier beer. You have to think about your beer more if you're a Belgian beer drinker.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on in Belgian-style beers that isn't going on in a lot of beer categories. It's a really unique category of beers. Or one of the ways we look at it, and I think if you talk to different brewers of Belgian-style beers, they're gonna say different things, and different things motivate them, and they find different things important about the beers they're brewing. But for us, we kind of look at Belgian-style beers as almost being a combination of beer and wine. Belgium is really sandwiched between Germany and France, so their beer culture picks up a lot from obviously beer culture in Germany, but their beer culture also picks up a lot from wine culture in France. So we almost look at it as brewing beers with wine yeast, and it brings out flavor in the beer that you just don't get with a lot of other traditional yeast cultures. And there's such a huge variety of yeast cultures available for these styles of beers. And really, there are a lot of wild yeast cultures and bacteria that brewers have never even used to make beers, which if you use in beers, you still get that Belgian character, which is the case in a beer we just brewed called the Confluence.
Do we have that beer?
We did grab that. Yeah.
Oh, good. We're gonna be able to try that and talk to you about that beer a little bit later.
Okay.
We're drinking your Grand Cru right now, by the way.
Oh, cool.
That was our starting beer, and this is a very nice beer. It's got the that Belgian sugar malt sweetness, and not as much of the Belgian yeast character to me. It's more on the malty side than the yeasty side, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's definitely one of our maltier beers, the Grand Cru and the 4. And those two beers are much different beers, but the Grand Cru is definitely a malty beer. with each of the beers we do, whenever we come out with a new beer, we don't just come out with a new beer to add another beer to the portfolio of beers we have. We try to do something with each of the different beers. In some beers we try to have, spices express themselves. Some beers we try to have the yeast express itself. In the case of the Grand Cru, I think you hit the nail right on the head. We really try to have the malts in that beer express themselves. And it is spiced. It's brewed with a Belgian yeast, but it definitely does have a real nice kind of malt character to it.
Okay. What do you do to get that malt character? I'm curious about candy sugar and even there's the syrup you can use now, or the rock version. How do you get a good Belgian malty beer?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Not that simple.
I think it really, it depends on the yeast strain you're using and the equipment you're using and the temperature you're fermenting at. I think, that's actually a really good question. And I think one of the things we've always tried to do at the brewery, we started, instead of just starting with 5 or 6 beers like a lot of breweries do, we just started with one beer, the Allagash White, which is now our flagship.
Okay.
Draft only, just in the local market. And we really kind of lived with that beer for almost a year before we came out with the second beer. So we spent a lot of time just kind of learning about our equipment and learning about the ingredients we're using, the malts we're using, the yeast we're using, the hops. So I think we just got a feel for our equipment and our ingredients and our yeast. And so by the time we came out with the Grand Cru, which was probably 3 or 4 years after I had started the brewery, we had a feel with our equipment and with our yeast how to kind of bring out that malt character. But I think it's tough to say you need to and Z to bring out a malt character in a beer. Do you know what I mean?
I do, yeah. I guess maybe, though, as an example, could you tell me a little bit about the malt bill on your Grand Cru and what you're doing to get the fermentable sugar in this beer?
Ooh, you know what? This should Jason should be doing this interview for this question.
Is he now in charge of this, the everyday brewing?
Yeah. I was when I started, I was doing all the brewing, and I did all the brewing for the first probably 5 or 6 years, at least the first couple of years. And our first brewer, Ned White, I worked with him pretty much in every single batch for a number of years. And then I think Jason, who's now our brewmaster, he's been there for 12 years.
Okay.
And he does a phenomenal job. And I kind of handed that torch over to him a couple of years ago, of brewmaster. And he'd probably be able to answer that question now a lot better than I can. But in terms of the malt bill, from what I recall in that beer, it's mainly comprised of 2-row and some caramel malts, quite a bit of 60 Lovey caramel malts, and also quite a bit of candy sugar. And one of the things we try to do in all of our beers is we like beers that drink pretty dry, not too sweet and malty. And I think, believe it or not, I think that brings out the malt character of the beer if it's not too sweet and malty. Yeah. I think it allows the beer to kind of express the subtleties of the malts. So at that particular beer, we go easy on, and if I remember correctly, when we started brewing that beer, we used a lot more caramel malt. We used a lot higher mash temperature. And over the first couple of years, we kind of lowered the mash temperature and took out some of the caramel malts because it kind of had an overpowering malty sweetness to it.
Okay.
And by lowering the mash temperature, the finishing gravity comes down a little bit, and by taking out some of those caramel malts, it's a little less sweet, and it allows the subtleties of the malt to express themselves a little bit more.
That's a great tip. Yeah. How about this? Do you recall where, and I hope this isn't a silly question, we've been talking about where to add candy sugar or the syrup even in our brewing process as home brewers. Where do you put the candy sugar in? Does that go right into the kettle? Do you do it at fermentation? Where are you adding that sugar?
We do it in the kettle.
Okay.
very early in the boil, and I honestly don't think it really matters when in the boil you add it, because you're not going to change the way the sugars ferment depending on when you add it in the kettle. But I think it's important to add it in the kettle because it sterilizes it.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're not starting with a sterile sugar, it's a nice, especially as a home brewer, it's a nice kind of guarantee you're sterilizing it if you're adding it in the kettle.
Sure.
And we add our sugar about half an hour, 15 minutes to a half an hour after the boil starts, and we do an hour and a half boil.
Okay. All right. That's a good tip.
So, and we've used a number of different kinds of sugars at the brewery, and we're having a lot of fun with that lately. With just some more, one of the great things about what's happening in this industry now is no matter what you call them, extreme beers or experimental beers. A lot of brewers are pushing the envelope, and a lot of the home brewers out there, which is great, are willing to kind of experiment with these beers and try these new beers. The home brewers are buying them, and just everyone else is getting into the craft brew business. And what it's doing is it's allowing craft brewers like Allagash or Dogfish Head or Russian River, Avery, and Port Brewing. Those guys are all buddies of mine, and there's plenty of other good great breweries out there. It's allowing us to kind of experiment and learn and come up with new styles.
Yeah.
Not every single one of them is a home run, but we're kind of like home brewers too. We're just trying new things. Sometimes you just have to try something and see where it goes. So we've been using lots of different kinds of sugars in our beers. We've used light candy sugar from Belgium, dark candy sugar, molasses. We use date sugar in our 4. So it's just interesting to try new ingredients and see what kind of outcome it has.
Yeah, because they all ferment different with different flavors. And like you said at the beginning of this malt question, that it also depends on what yeast you're using. I imagine that affects, the sugar compared to the yeast.
It has a huge effect. The yeast strain, and this is just kind of one of my things. Yeast strain is just critical with beer. I think if you talk to most brewers, they'd say that, but even especially with Belgian-style beer, if you look in the Belgian brewing culture, for a pretty small geographical area, there's just, really an almost limitless variety of yeast strains available. From kind of the Brabant-style pale ale, or kind of almost a pale ale yeast to a saison yeast and a Belgian wit yeast, all the Trappist yeasts, and then once you get into the wild yeasts, it's almost limitless.
Yeah.
In the bacterias for the fermentation. So really with Belgium for yeast, there are almost limitless possibilities, especially when you start to combine them. You bring out flavors that you just couldn't get in the beer any other way.
Right.
And Rob, did you kind of work with any Belgian brewers, when you first started off, ask a lot of questions, try to source ingredients from these guys? How did you kind of approach that? Was there something inspiration-wise, was there something you wanted to, I want to make an Orval, I want to make something... How did you kind of handle that?
We actually, when I started, one of the things I really wanted to make sure we did was not base any of our beers on any other beers.
Cool.
I kind of look at it as, if someone's brewing another beer, what's the point in brewing it? So we've always tried to do our own thing, but there have definitely been styles that have intrigued us. The first one was the white beer.
Mm-hmm.
When I was at Otter Creek, I tried the Celis White. And it was funny because the first time I tried that beer, and this is back in probably 1993, I got a 6-pack of that. I was like, hey, kind of, what's this? I grabbed a 6-pack of it, brought it back to my house. I was living with a college buddy of mine at the time when I was brewing at Otter Creek. And I opened the first bottle, took a sip of it, and my first reaction was the same reaction everyone got when they tried our beer when we started was, what's wrong with this? There's something wrong with this beer.
Yeah.
And I handed it over to my buddy. I'm like, you try this. And he tried it. He's like, I kind of like this. I said, give me that bottle. So I grabbed it back from him, tried the beer, and I said, maybe this is okay. By 2 or 3 beers later, I was in love with the style. So the approach we've always taken is, we've sometimes gotten intrigued by these styles, but we make sure when we brew something, we do our best to make sure it's unique to Allagash. It's our own beer.
Yeah.
We don't want to do a beer that anyone else has done. So, we'll get inspired by styles, but try to do our own thing, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Do you use, talking about all these different yeasts, and you could blend them, and aside from the bacteria, keep that aside for a second, your kind of base yeast, do you use a lot of different yeasts, or do you have just a house Belgian yeast?
If you look at all the volume we do, about 97% of the volume we do is with one yeast strain.
Okay.
It's I think a Belgian. That's one of the very few things we keep a little secret, just to keep a little bit of mystery to it.
Okay.
Sure. But for our white beer and for 98% of the volume we do, it's one yeast strain.
It is, okay.
And it's funny because when I started the brewery, I always said, we'll only use one yeast strain. I really didn't want to have another yeast strain because, as you guys know, and as anyone who's out there listening that's a home brewer knows, you've got to be careful with multiple yeast strains. Not to basically, if we're sharing any hoses in the brewery or equipment, you got to make sure none of those yeast strains jump into a fermentation with your primary yeast. So, I always said we'll only use one yeast strain. I want to keep this simple. And probably about 6 or 7 years after we started, we introduced the second yeast strain and then a third. And now we do about 98% of our beers with one strain, but we probably have 10 or 15 other strains we've used for specialty beers. And now we love using different strains. And it's a little bit of work, and you have to be pretty cautious, but, we use tons of strains right now.
Well, and if you look at, you can go to allagash.com, by the way, and look at this, and you have a beer list there. You have a lot of different beers, so I can imagine that you're juggling a lot of different yeasts as well. Do you bank your own yeast there for these different ones, or will you call your supplier and say, doing this beer again, I need to grab some yeast from you?
We can bank it at the brewery, but we do use yeast suppliers to bank it, just for that kind of, just to be sure that they're in a safe, kind of protected place off-site. I think it just makes a lot. It's almost like data storage with a computer.
Oh, yeah.
It's nice to have some storage off-site. So we use a couple different yeast companies to store the yeast, and the ones we're most concerned about are our proprietary yeast that we use, again, to ferment 98% of our beer. And then, as it sounds like we'll get to in a sec, for that beer we do, the Confluence, that's brewed with a Brettanomyces, at least we think. It's at least a wild yeast that we found growing in a batch of beer at the brewery. So really with those two yeasts, we really want to make sure we have multiple sites of storage, and we have yeast companies that grow it up to a pitchable rate for us to pitch it at the brewery. Although we can easily do it at the brewery, we have a lab where we can easily do that.
Now, I'm curious about this. You found this Brett in a batch of beer at your brewery. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Did you have a beer and went, we didn't put that in there, and then have it analyzed? How did you discover this yeast?
That's pretty close to it. We actually had a beer which we were going to do that was we kind of wanted to loosely, in a lot of the beers we've been doing lately on the more experimental side, you really can't put into any specific category. But we had a beer which, for lack of a better description, was loosely based on a Saison, a little bit higher alcohol, and we added a Saison yeast to this beer. We were going to ferment it out with a Saison yeast. And as any home brewer who's out there listening that's used a Saison yeast, it's classic for a Saison yeast to have a real healthy fermentation for the first half of the fermentation, and then either peter out or just totally stop.
Okay.
And in the case of this beer, we added the Saison yeast. It fermented great for 3 days, real strong fermentation, and then it came to a grinding halt and stopped fermenting. And then we have a fermentation lock a lot like what homebrewers use, which is basically we have a bucket of water, and there's a stainless steel pipe that comes out of the tank, and we hook a hose up and run it into the bucket, and you can see it bubbling, like those little fermentation locks on the top of a car buoy.
Yeah.
We saw it bubbling quite a bit, and we obviously have ways to monitor fermentation and check it, and saw it was going very well. And then we came in one day, and it had absolutely stopped. And we kind of shrugged our shoulders and said, maybe it'll get going. It didn't get going for a number of days. We tried to get it restarted by rousing it. Nothing would get it going. Raising the temperature a little didn't get it going. And we finally just kind of forgot about it. We didn't need the tank. And we came into work about 3 weeks later, and it was bubbling again. You kind of like looking at your fermentation lock as a home brewer in a car buoy and have it, doing nothing for 3 weeks, and then walking into your closet or basement, wherever you're keeping it, and it's all of a sudden bubbling again, real happily. So we said, wow, great, it started to ferment again. We took a sample. Yeah, exactly, magic.
Secondary fermentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, as we were tasting it, we were kind of looking at each other and saying, this tastes like there's something in it that we didn't put in it. It just had a much different flavor profile. Yeah. But we loved the direction it was going.
Okay.
So in the meantime, we were doing our standard lab work, and we saw something growing in the beer that was not a standard brewing ale yeast. So we kind of had a combination of panic that we had a batch of beer that had something growing in it that we didn't want because we might have had to dump the beer. But we also said, this beer is just tasting better every day we taste it. So we let it ferment out. It took 2 or 3 months to finish. And in the meantime, we had determined it was, 99% sure it was a Brettanomyces yeast, which is a very kind of classic yeast culture for some classic Belgian styles. And so we let the fermentation finish, and then when it was done, we just fell in love with the beer. And we thought it would be real well suited to age in oak, so we cut about 2/3 of what was in the tank into oak. Aged it, and we used French oak wine barrels, Merlot and Syrah barrels. Aged it for 8 months, and then blended the stainless and oak together, and that was the interlude. That's how he, kind of came up with that beer, and that's how that yeast was kind of born.
So then you just cultured and kept the yeast after that.
Yeah, we isolated that culture, and we repitched it a number of times into the interlude to make the interlude.
Okay.
And since then, we started making the Confluence, and we released the first batch of that a couple months ago, and another batch of that will probably be released in about 2 months.
Okay.
It takes a long time to make those beers.
Yeah.
The Brett really it just takes forever to ferment out. It's a real slow fermenter, but you can't get that flavor any other way, so it's worth it.
Love that flavor. Mm-hmm. All right, we're gonna I hope that beer gets cold soon, Chad. We gotta open up that Confluence too. One of our listeners wanted to know what's different about Allagash's Brett strain, and I don't know if that's the story you just told, if that's what's different, or is there something else that makes your Brett strain different?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I have no idea what makes it different. And one of the things we need to do is get it, and I guess it depends on the question. I mean, what's different genetically about it, or whether it's Brettanomyces bruxellensis or, what Brettanomyces strain it is. We don't even know yet, and we've every time I do an interview like this or do a beer dinner, someone will ask me that, and I'll say, you know what, we got to get it analyzed and see what it is and just what makes it different, kind of from a scientific standpoint, and we've just never done it.
Okay.
In terms of what it makes it different flavor-wise, it's got, I think, a very unique flavor. Some Bretts, or most of the Brett beers that I've tried, they have a real kind of, real kind of funky, barnyardy character to it. This particular Brett has just a touch of that, but it's also got a real kind of nice, gentle, fruity character. It's got a very distinctive bread crust flavor to it. So, if, from a scientific standpoint, I'm not sure what the difference is. It might be very similar to some of the other commercially available Brett yeast, if it is a Brett yeast. From a flavor standpoint, I think the biggest difference is it's got kind of a clean horsehair, barnyardy character. There's just a little bit of that in there.
Okay.
And it's got much more of a real distinctive bread crusty, graham crackery character to it.
Sounds great. I don't mind myself some severe horse blankety either, but
I love it too.
Yeah.
I love it too. This particular one doesn't. And it's a good question, because that's one of the reasons we fell in love with this yeast, is because it is different.
Yeah.
It's not kind of a run-of-the-mill Brett. Again, if that's what it is, but
right.
It has a very unique character to it.
What I like is that it sounds like it's truly a regional yeast of yours. I mean, it is not something that you cultured from another bottle or got from a yeast bank that is a Brett strain from Belgium. It's a Maine Brett strain, the state Brett strain that happened to land in your beer. It sounds like.
Well, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I love that.
It is a strain of Brett that somehow made it into the beer.
Yeah.
We think it's because it was a new tank that we had bought, and when we kind of tried to figure out how it got in there, we noticed there was a very loose fitting on the top of the tank. So we figured when fermentation stopped, the beer cooled down. It created really a vacuum in the tank.
Yeah.
Sucked air in through this loose fitting and brought, probably 5 or 6 little yeast cells into the tank. And
right.
Before we knew it, there were billions of little yeast cells in the tank.
So wild.
It was interesting because it wasn't, it was just one single culture in that tank with the Saison yeast we'd added. So it was very easy to isolate.
Yeah. That's great. Good story. I want to talk to you more about wild yeast, and particularly I want to ask you about your cool ships. I got to take a quick break and take care of some sponsors. Can you stick with us?
I can. I'm going to go open a beer.
Do that. We'll do the same. I got Rob Todd on the line from Allagash with us, and we're talking Belgian beers. We're going to keep talking about wild yeasts, and I'm going to ask him about the use of cool ships, which is pretty rare here in the U.S., and actually even in brewing around the world today. So stick with us. Allagash Brewing's on the line. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
In the past year, the Brewing Network has been able to add 2 new shows, expand our studio capabilities and quality, and bring more beer information home to you than ever before. In no small part, this is due to subscribers like you. Thank you from all of us at the Brewing Network. Without your monthly support of any denomination, we could not bring you the very best in live beer radio like Can You Brew It, Brew Strong, and the Sunday Session. Haven't signed up yet? Join your fellow brewers in the BN Army. Sign up today at thebrewingnetwork.com for a recurring donation as little as $2 a month. Besides all the great live radio you'll support, every subscriber is automatically entered in monthly raffles for amazing brew gear like a conical fermenter, a temperature control system, or your own draft setup. Become a part of the BN Army today. Downtown Joe's, located in the historic Oberon building in beautiful downtown Napa, California, offers an award-winning brew pub experience from 8:30 a.m. to 1 a.m. every day. For 15 years at the corner of 2nd and Main, Downtown Joe's has been voted Best Night Spot 7 times and Best Brew Pub for the last 4 years in a row. Brewmaster Colin Kaminsky's handcrafted ales, like his Tail Wagon Amber Ale and Double Secret Probation IPA, are the perfect accent to riverside dining, live music, and a relaxing outdoor patio. Don't miss the Beer of the Month, special rotating taps, and the BN Army Member Special. Wear your BN gear, get 10% off your beer. Visit downtownjoes.com to make reservations, peruse their extensive calendar of events, or just read more about their fantastic beers. Come enjoy the fine beer, food, and music. Downtown Joe's, the award-winning brew pub where you'll feel at home. Williams Brewing is your online resource for prompt delivery of quality home brewing supplies. Since 1979, Williams Brewing has offered the finest equipment and freshest ingredients and the best customer service in the business. Cut hours off your brewing sessions by using one of their 11 varieties of famous Williams malt extract. Their Williams German Pils is mashed with pure German Moravian 2-row barley malt for a light blonde color and malty crispness you just can't get from other extracts. Or check out their unique fermenters, draft beer equipment, bottling aids, and more. They even have their own line of precision hydrometers. Go to williamsbrewing.com to browse their vast selection and enter promo code BREW at the order checkout for $5 off your next order over $50. Orders placed by 3 p.m. ship the same day. Again, go to williamsbrewing.com and enter promo code BREW at checkout for $5 off your next order. Brewing is easy, the Williams way.
Hilo, what's it feel like?
Take awesome and multiply it by 2.
Spraying live beer radio all over your face.
Can't get any better than this, baby.
It's the Brewing Network.
The Brewing Network, saving your life.
One beer at a time.
We do our best. Welcome back to the program. It's The Session. I've got Rob Todd from Allagash on the line with us. You go to allagash.com and look everything up that you need to know. If you got any questions, 888-401-BEER, or you can join Bevo in the chat room, and she'll send your questions along to us. All right, Rob, did you get yourself a fresh beer?
I did indeed.
What, same kind?
I'm actually doing a quick little Twitter here.
Oh, good.
Which I've started to do, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, we just started that late last year also, and it's worked out great. It's a good way just to, because you can instantly let people know what's happening. We used to get a lot of complaints that we weren't letting people know enough of what we're doing, and now we do it instant, you know. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it works well.
It's
it's funny, I'm finishing writing right here and drinking a white.
And drinking a white. We just opened your Fluxus. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Fluxus, exactly.
Yeah, that's a nice beer.
It's funny, the way I got, I spelled mosquitoes wrong. Who cares?
You're allowed to misspell on Twitter, I think.
That's right. It's funny, I got into this, I was at an event in San Francisco, at San Francisco Beer Week, at the Trappist.
Yeah.
Sure.
Which is a great place in Oakland.
We tried to actually make it there to meet you, but we were I think we were coming from Hayward that day at the Bistro Fest. But,
yeah. You know, I wanted to get to that, and my plane got a little delayed, so I couldn't make it. So I was pretty bummed out about that. But, Vic's awesome that owns the Bistro. He's a good buddy of mine.
Yeah.
But I had about 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks prior to that, switched to Gmail. There's like a purpose to the story here.
Okay,
it's a little
no
long.
worries. That's all right.
I just switched to Gmail, and at first it was a little hard to get used to, but after a while I just fell in love with Gmail. And I'm on the road a lot, and Gmail is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I started using Gmail, the Google Calendar. I started using Google Contacts, and I fell in love with Google and Gmail. It's the coolest thing on the planet.
Yeah.
And there were some guys that came up to me when I was at the Trappist, and they were saying to me, dude, can you come by our company and talk about the beer? I was like, whatever. And I was like, where do you guys work? And they're like, we work at Google on the Gmail team. I'm like, no way. Sign me up, dude. I will come out and talk to you guys anytime you want.
Right.
I was just telling them how I was a total convert. And so I ended up going out there. And it was funny because the guy who got me signed up to go out to Gmail had just taken a job at Twitter. So anyway, I did the whole Gmail thing, which was unbelievable. Really cool crew there. And I started talking to obviously continuing to talk to the guy who had gotten me out there, who's now Twitter. And I said, well, let me come out and do a talk at Twitter. I had so much fun at Gmail. So I'm going out there, and he got me signed up at Twitter. And now, I've been doing the Twitter thing every couple of days, and that's a lot of fun. It's just cool to be able to kind of, it's fun to fill people in on the stuff that you do kind of outside the everyday brewing job,
Yeah. I agree that we use it most when we're traveling, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, we'll be in other states, and we'll say, hey, we're at such and such bar having a beer for this event, and within an hour, listeners will show up to come hang out and have a beer with us, and it's just great. It's really it's cool to do that. It was a big topic at CBC this year. Twitter and Facebook were a huge topic. I sat through 2 different lectures that were on the topic, and the one at the end, which was about kind of blogging and social networking in general, the blogosphere and people like us. I'm not sure why I wasn't invited to speak on the panel. It was very strange. It was the room was full, and it wasn't full with it was full with Charlie Papazian was sitting in on it to figure it out, and there was a lot of it was kind of a who's who of brewers here at this essentially this blog lecture, and it's kind of a big deal in beer right now. Every brewery on Earth seems to have a Twitter and a Facebook and a you name it.
So can we follow Allagash, or is it Rob Todd? Can we follow both? Are you doing it for breweries?
Allagash Beer.
Oh, great.
It's just called Allagash Beer, so it's ALLAGASHBEER. Awesome. I think it's really cool, too, because I try to get out on the road a lot, and, I love meeting people, and I love doing these events, and it's kind of fun. A lot of people come up to me like, oh, dude, that must be the best job in the world, and that must be so cool. And, the only thing they see is me showing up to the beer dinner or whatever. And it's cool on Twitter. One of the things I like to do is, when I was just out in Seattle at San Francisco Beer Week, and on Saturday morning, the great part of the job was Friday night. I was out at an event at the Stumbling Monk, which was a great time. Then Saturday morning, I had to wake up at 4 in the morning, go to the airport. You were the Stumbling Monk. Exactly. Yeah. It's just kind of cool. I sat in the airport, and I was like, at the airport, 5:30 a.m.
Yeah.
This is the bad part of the job. It's kind of cool to be able to do that, just to kind of communicate all the stuff you have to deal with.
Yeah, it's a good window.
People that drink the beer. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So
I've got a caller, one of our Pennsylvania listeners on the line. He says he has an Allagash story for us. You want to take that, Rob?
Oh boy, I don't know. Do I?
Yeah, I know. And by the way, on this program, you never know, man. This could be great or awful.
It's probably going to be a story that I'm going to have to deny.
Okay, well, go right ahead. Sure.
Brew Daddy from Pennsylvania. What's happening, brother?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
I'm doing all right.
Hey, Rob.
How's it going?
Don't worry, this is a good one.
Okay.
Rob came down for Philly Beer Week.
Oh, that was a great time.
Yeah, I got a chance to meet him at one of the Meet the Brewer nights over at local beer bar Capone's.
Oh, yeah, that was a good... I love that place.
Yeah,
that
Matt
awesome.
Capone has a really nice, out in the suburbs, but great selection. And
a great guy, too, man. He's the best. He's awesome.
Capone? Oh, yeah, he was a sweetheart.
But anyway, so a couple weeks ago, Jay, I heard you saying you had seen Patrick Rue from the brewery, and you think he might be the nicest guy in brewing.
Yeah.
I got to put my vote for Rob, though.
Is that right? We might have to have a nice guy competition on the BM. That'll be a first. Usually we're voting who's a douche.
Yep.
Yeah, when Matt Capone, the owner of this bar, he said the first time he started carrying Allagash, like a week later, Rob shows up at the restaurant and just walks in and says, "Hey, I'm Rob Todd from Allagash. Take me around and introduce me to everybody. I want to talk to them about my beer."
Wow.
I just thought that was the coolest thing.
Is that a true story, or did he exaggerate, Rob?
No, I think it's a true story, yeah. And Matt Capone, he's awesome, man. He's a great guy. He's got a really cool place. And, yeah, I remember that first night hanging out there. It was good. It was a Tuesday night. They do these Tuesday night, they had crab's legs, and I had a blast because we drank a bunch of beer. You know, I met a bunch of people, and we ate crab's legs all night. I mean, how can you beat that, right?
Yeah. That sounds very nice. All right, well, that's a good story. I'm telling you, between Patrick and so far Rob, you guys probably are the nicest guys. There's a lot of nice guys in brewing, but just, taking extra time and just being nice folks, there's a lot of good stories about you two going around. All right, thanks, Brew Daddy. I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.
All right, cheers.
Hey, thanks, man. On the Patrick note, yeah, he's brewing some phenomenal beers.
Isn't he?
I love his beers.
Yeah, he
really is.
He just came out of nowhere, that kid, and we all love his beers. We had him on the show not too long ago, and I told the whole story. I met him before he was brewing, and he just kind of told me about it. I met him at CBC a few years ago. And then the following year, when CBC was in San Diego, I meet him there again, and he goes, hey, my beer's here. And I've met a dozen listeners who come up and they say, I'm opening a brewery. And it never happens. And not because they're flakes, I don't mean that, but it's tough. It's a tough thing to do. So when the kid comes, when I see him a year later, and he's like, hey, it's me again, and now my beer's here, and I have his Saison, his first Saison, blew my mind, man. He just came out of nowhere. Good beer.
Yeah, he's got some great stuff.
Yeah. All right. So like I said, we're drinking your Fluxus now. Let me just ask you about that real quick before we start talking to you about your cool ships. It says it's an ale brewed with spices. You've got some ginger in here we can taste.
Yes.
What else can you tell us about this beer?
We have started the brewery. We got so many great people at the brewery. I think there's 17 employees there now. And one of the things we've started to do is if anyone at the brewery has an idea for a beer they want to do, they can do it on a little pilot system, and then we can kind of scale it up to a production level. But we're trying to... there are so many just great, passionate people there, and they got so many ideas. And that's an example of one of those beers. One of our brewers there, Tom Bonifair, he's been there probably 4 or 5 years now. He came up with this idea. He wanted to do a double wheat beer and spice it with ginger. And we do that beer, the Fluxus, we do it differently every single year. Every single year it's a different recipe and kind of a different concept.
Okay.
So we did it that year, and, I think that beer came out great. It was just a home run.
Yeah.
And we've got a different Fluxus coming out this year, but that beer we brewed about a year ago. It was released almost a year ago. It's still drinking great. I want to say it's even drinking better than when it came out. It's improving.
I love it. This is a nice beer. Tasty, do you like this beer?
Yeah, I do. I like it. I love the spiciness in it. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's well balanced.
And it's sweet.
Yeah, it's a great beer. There's not a lot of it kicking around.
Oh, is that right? Oh, good. We lucked out.
Yeah. So, yeah. So
it's
he did a phenomenal job.
It's got a sweet character to it, but I think it's also dry. It dries up on the palate. Yeah, it finishes dry. But it tastes sweet, so you can enjoy that, but then you can have another because it finishes dry.
Oh, yeah. It's malty sweet.
I think that's one of the cool things about ginger is that up front it almost does have like a sweet perception to it.
Yeah.
But it's got that real crisp kind of spicy finish to it. And so I think the ginger complements that beer very nicely.
In what form and where do you add the ginger to this beer?
We add freshly ground ginger to the whirlpool. So after the boil, after we boil it and we hop the beer, in the whirlpool, we basically, I said ground, we really grate freshly grated ginger.
Okay.
And added it to the whirlpool. That's one of those spices, really any spice. If you add it real early in the boil, you drive off a lot of the kind of more delicate aromas and even the tastes.
Yeah.
Whereas if you add it at the very end of the boil, or in our case, in a commercial brewery in the whirlpool, you get the flavor into the beer, but you don't drive off a lot of those lighter tastes and aromas.
Is this one of those spices that you have to really be careful with and use sparingly because it'll get out of control? Did you, do you know how much you put into this batch by chance?
I don't know how much we put into it, but to answer your question, yes, it is one of those spices. And I'll also say every spice you add is one of those spices.
Okay.
I think one of the approaches we take to brewing is, you've got to be very careful to be subtle with any ingredient you add, whether it's a malt or a hop or a spice. We really try to make sure we don't overwhelm the beer with any one character. We really strive for balance. I think if you have one flavor or ingredient or character that overpowers the beer, I think, to put it simply, the beer kind of gets boring. You drink 2 or 3 sips and you figured it out, and it's just kind of boring. I think one of the things that I love about a well-balanced beer is that it keeps you guessing as you drink it, and you're discovering different flavors, you're discovering different aromas. It's interesting to drink, and I think if one flavor or aroma or a characteristic of the beer overwhelms the other characters, it's not a fun, exciting, dynamic beer to drink.
That's an excellent philosophy.
So it's important. Yeah, it's important to be subtle with that particular ingredient, and really with any ingredient.
Yeah. What a great philosophy, and it makes and hearing you say that. By the way, I'm a bigger fan now than I was at the beginning of the show. We're not even done yet. But hearing you say that and then tasting the beer at the same time, it makes sense. I can, it's not just a theory for you.
We're tasting the practice.
Yeah, it really is. It's not always done that way, and not because other brewers are worse, but it's a difficult thing to do, I think, and that's why I'm asking about whether these spices are hard to use, because it's just tough to know how much to use and where to use it.
It is, and we're trying to have fun and be experimental and do different things, and we're not always going to be successful every single time, but that's kind of what we work towards.
Yeah.
And I think we are most of the time, but sometimes we have to tweak things a little bit. And with those specialty beers and those limited release beers, we'll usually brew one batch, taste it, and then brew another batch to blend with it, and compensate if we have to. But we're not always going to do it perfectly every time. We do it for a living, but it's kind of like home brewers. We're experimenting. We're trying new things. But that's kind of what we strive for, is a lot of balance.
Yeah. No, you're doing well with it. Okay. I want to talk to you about something near and dear to my heart, and I think something that will be interesting to our listeners. I want to talk to you about cool ships and the use of that in your brewer. Now, everybody on this show knows that my favorite brewery on the planet, I can never get enough of their beer, is Cantillon. And I got to go there. I got to go there last year for the first time, and a little bit of heaven on earth for me to be able to be there. And I went with Chris White, and Chris is the person who introduced me to you in Boston. And the first thing he said to me was, because he knows how important this is to me, he says, "Rob Todd has a cool ship, and he uses it." And so as soon as he said that, I knew it would be a topic for us. Explain to me and to our listeners, in case anyone hasn't seen it or heard me ramble on about it, what is a cool ship, and how do you use it?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Cantillon, that place is unbelievable. I love it. I've been there a bunch of times, and it's a really cool place. And in addition to it being a cool place, Jean, who's the son of Jean-Pierre, who's really doing all the brewing now, is a great guy. He's a really cool guy. Yeah. That whole family's cool, and the brewery's cool, and he's really cool.
He is cool. He let me blend beer with him. He let me go in and just, I was just a guy off the street, for all he knew. But once he found out I was a Uber fan, he let me and Chris kind of go around and actually blend our own beers. Took time out of his day. Very sweet, very nice guy.
Yeah, he's great. He's awesome. And really, actually, the story kind of starts with him, and it's funny because he was actually at the brewery just after the CBC. He came up to the brewery, and it was just it was really cool for me having him, because I've only ever seen him in his brewery, and I'm like you, I idolize that place. It's awesome. It's just it's a really cool place. But he was hanging out at the brewery with Jason and I, and trying our spontaneously fermented beers. It was just really cool having him there. But
yeah, I bet
I was in Belgium about I don't know, it was around 2 years ago, with my other derelict and delinquent brewery buddies, Adam Avery and Tommy and Vinny and Sam.
All the delinquents.
Exactly, all of us were over there. And we spent quite a bit of time at Canyon, and really the whole cool ship thing and spontaneous fermentation, it kind of scared me. A lot of microbes you don't want in a brewery. And B, like every other brewery on the planet, one of the things you learned is the alembic style you can only make in the Seine Valley area. When we went into Cantillon, we kind of were talking about this with Jean, and he was saying, you know what, you can make these beers anywhere. They may not be the same, but you can make these beers anywhere if you have the right kind of climate conditions. And that kind of got my gears turning.
Okay.
And, I think I just woke up about a year and a half ago one morning and said, you know what, we're going to try to make these beers. And I don't know if we'll ever sell them, but we're just going to try it. We're going to see if it can be done.
Nice.
So we built a cool ship. We had a local fabricator build a cool ship. It's a pretty big cool ship. I mean, it holds probably 15 barrels of beer, which is 450 gallons of beer.
So define it for me real quick, just for anybody who doesn't know what a cool ship is, actually.
It's basically to brew the traditional lambic beers, which we don't call our beer lambic, we call it spontaneous. I think the lambic should kind of be reserved for beers that are brewed in that Seine Valley area. Almost like champagne should be reserved for wines that are made in France that are naturally carbonated. But basically the concept is, for most beers, you take in the mash tun, you break the starch in the barley down into sugar, you boil it, hop it, you cool it in a sterile environment, and then you add usually a single cell yeast culture that's controlled, and you ferment it out with that yeast culture. The biggest difference with the spontaneously fermented beers, the lambic beers, essentially, and there are some other there are some other important differences, but essentially, after the beer is boiled and hopped, instead of cooling it in a sterile environment and adding yeast, you're cooling it in very shallow, open vessels that are exposed to the outside air, and the outside air not only cools the boiling wort, but it also introduces natural yeast and bacteria, which, when the beer, after the beer cools overnight, that natural yeast and bacteria is left in the beer or the wort.
Mm-hmm.
It goes into a wooden barrel, and it, quote unquote, spontaneously ferments in the barrel.
Okay.
So, it appears as if it's spontaneous because no yeast has been added, but really what you've done is you've added the yeast from the natural environment, from the air.
Right.
And we did the same thing. We built a 8 foot by, I think, 12 foot vessel that's about a foot deep, and we'll make a traditional spontaneous beer. We use hops that we've aged at the brewery. We do a long boil.
How long is a long boil?
Pump it out. We boiled for about 4.5 hours. I'm not sure if we actually need to boil that long. But we boiled for 4.5 hours. And what that does, the lambic brewers traditionally use aged hops, because the bitterness doesn't really suit the beer very well. It doesn't suit the flavor profile of the beer very well. But the hops are important from a flavor standpoint, and they're also important from a preservative standpoint.
Okay.
So what they'll do is they'll use an aged hop, which aged hops lose their ability to bitter beer. So they'll age the hops, so they're not going to add as much bitterness, but they add some flavor, and they also give the beer the preservative quality.
Okay.
The downside of an aged hop is that it almost gives what you call a cheesy character to the beer, and it really does. It almost smells like cheese.
Yeah. I like
so
that.
when you add these hops to the wort, you need to boil it for a long time to drive off that cheesy character.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
So after boiling, we'll pump it into this cool ship, let it cool overnight. The natural, in this case, Maine air inoculates it with wild yeast and bacteria.
You have like the windows open and stuff? Is that how
Oh, yeah.
You do? Okay.
Absolutely.
Are you, I don't know about your location. Are you, and I think this is important, are you in the middle of a city? Are you, is there a field next to you? I mean, what's getting in there?
We're kind of on the edge of Portland, and it's in a quote-unquote industrial park.
Okay.
But there's a lot of woods in this industrial park, and we back right up onto woods.
Okay.
So the little cool ships, it's kind of almost in the woods. And we're only a couple miles from the ocean. And I think the most important part of the environment, though, is the fact that from late October to probably mid to late December, and also late February to early April, the weather conditions are very similar to the weather conditions in the Seine Valley in terms of temperature.
Okay.
During the day, the temperature gets up into the low 50s on average, and at night it gets up just above, or gets down to just above freezing at night. So we have conditions that very closely mimic the conditions in the Seine Valley during those periods, and that's when we've brewed these beers. And we were and again, we're not doing this to sell it. I don't know if we'll ever sell it. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. I don't know. We're more just curious.
So you've just started this program?
Almost 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago.
All right.
And these beers, we brewed 6 batches, and they have fermented. You wait 5 or 6 days, and all of a sudden, the beer starts fermenting.
Wow.
Comes we fermented it right in oak. They're still in the same barrels they fermented in, and you get a very vigorous fermentation.
Yeah.
And they're just now, the beers that are about a year and a half old are starting to get a little bit tart, and
really,
it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
See, I want to do it.
Like I mentioned, we had John at the brewery from Cantillon. He was tasting them, and we were happy with the flavor, and he was happy with it. And he said, it's different than our beers, but it tastes good. So.
And do you think that they taste good?
I do.
You do.
And it's funny because we were tasting them about 8 months ago, 6-8 months ago, and 2/3 of the beers we tasted I didn't think tasted good, and I really kind of was looking at Jason and said, we're going to need to dump a lot of this. And we didn't taste it at all till we had Jean in there, and Jason and I were kind of looking at each other, and we were like, wow, this is tasting good.
Right.
So some of these beers that they really tasted kind of Band-Aidy and solventy. A lot of that character is gone. It's going away or it's gone. And so the beer is really nicely developing. It's getting a nice tart character. So
yeah. Well,
really what I'm most interested in is not selling it. I mean, which is, it's crazy. Which is probably bad business. We don't sit around with a kind of a focus group and say, okay, what's everyone going to want to drink? What is everyone going to like?
Right.
We just kind of say, okay, what do we want to brew? What do we want to try? And we just brew it.
You must have gone to the Brewing Network School of Business. We just do what we want to do and hope hope it works out okay.
No
in the
business
end.
plan whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're more interested in just trying something and let's see what it's like, and if we can sell it, great. If we can't, well, hey, we learned something.
Well, I'm sure that John talked to you about this too when you were there. What he taught me when I was at Cantillon and was letting me blend things is that it's with these kinds of beers, it's really all about the blending. You know, whereas with your other Belgian beers, I think that fermentation and recipe is really the art that you do. The art that Cantillon does is the blending of their beers. Because he gave me some beers that were unblended that I didn't really enjoy, and I was almost disappointed when he gave them to me at first. I went, oh wow, I have Cantillon up on this pedestal, and he just gave me this, and I don't really like this. But then when he let me blend it with one that's 2 years old and one that's a year old and one that's 5 years old, then the magic happened. So I guess what I'm saying to you is he probably talked to you about that too. You know, you're tasting these beers and maybe you're telling him, well, I don't know about this one. Is that going to be good? And you're going to get to blend all that together to make something good, I would hope.
You know, it's interesting. I've heard the same thing. You know, when I talk to Jean at Cantillon and Armand at Dre-Fontaine and then Frank Bone, they kind of tell you how important the blending is, and you just kind of say, hey, whatever.
Yeah.
And they didn't even really. They told me that over there. They didn't tell us, or Jean didn't tell me a whole lot about it at the brewery, but that's one thing that we immediately discovered is for one batch of this beer that we made, it goes into say 10 or 15 oak barrels of various sizes.
Okay.
We kind of assumed all those barrels would taste the same. What's the point in blending them all? But it's amazing. You go and you taste each of these different barrels; they're totally different.
Yeah.
And that to me was the biggest. I mean, it just opened my eyes. Like, wow, blending is important.
It is.
Blending really is the art. Just like exactly what you said. Blending is the art behind these beers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
because,
it's amazing.
When you're just getting that spontaneous ferment that you're getting, without control, and, some of them are pretty bland. Like, he gave me a beer that was only a year old, a goose that was like a year old, and it was really bland. I didn't like the beer. And if that had been my first goose, I probably never would have drank another one. But, of course, he would never put that into a bottle. That's not why that 1 year goose is there. That 1 year goose is there to blend with his 3 year goose, and to blend with his, with maybe one of his lambics, that he's put raspberries in and it's been in a barrel, and then the beer just comes to life. And I knew that these were blended beers. I knew from reading the bottle that they were blended beers, but I didn't understand that they were blended beers until he showed me the difference. And so it really is amazing. And I think, by the way, that's something that American brewers are just getting accustomed to and just starting to play with, is not just sour beers, but blending beer in general. And I can't wait till we get good at it.
Yeah. It's funny. On a total side note, people are listening to the show because I've just gotten about 30 emails that say people are listening to me on Twitter. So that's awesome.
Great, awesome,
that's pretty cool.
Love it. Yeah, we always we like to tell you that nobody's listening so that we can get all the secrets out of you.
Yeah.
But usually within a week you find out that everybody was listening.
Yeah, now I'm starting to get all nervous. People listening.
Yeah, thanks a lot. They just ruined it. I was just about to get, the recipe that's never been given out by telling Rob, don't worry, nobody's listening.
Yeah, you just need to drink faster, Rob.
Yeah, I was going to spill all the beans, tell you guys the secret spice in the white beer.
Yeah. All right, we just opened. So speaking of Brett and sourness and wonderfulness like that, we just opened the Confluence. And we've been talking about your Brett. Now, Tasty and Chad, you guys have already tried it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've only experiencing the aroma right now.
Isn't it great?
And
that's a lot.
Oh, the aroma is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just a nice. The aroma almost smells a little more than Brett to me, more than just Brett, I should say. It's got a little. It's not just that bready, acidic, but also a little bit of sour in there too. Just the aroma.
Yeah, it's an interesting beer, and this is one of these beers, like the Stout and like the Fluxus, that I feel like I can brag about because I didn't have anything to do with it.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's fine.
It was one of the crew at the brewery. Again, we just got the best crew at the brewery. They're super passionate. They do an amazing job. Very talented. This particular beer, Jason, our brewmaster, really came up with. And it's an interesting beer, and the name Confluence, what it suggests is kind of the confluence of two yeasts. What we do at the outset of fermentation is pitch not only our house yeast strain, but also that house Brettanomyces yeast strain. And
at the same time,
early in the we pitch them at the same time, and we do a pitchable quantity of both at the same time.
Okay.
So we pitch quite a bit of bread into this beer early. This particular beer never sees oak, and it's not spiced. All that character comes from really the confluence of these two yeasts. And for the first week and a half of fermentation, our house yeast, the Saccharomyces, just ale yeast, really outcompetes the Brett, and it does the bulk of the fermentation. It does 90% of the fermentation, and you get a little bit of the Brett character, but not a lot. It's mostly our house yeast that does the work. After that, once that house yeast has really done all the work that it can do, that Brett kicks in. And it just totally transforms the beer. And it's interesting because that beer, it takes about a week to ferment out in primary fermentation, and then it takes, easily 4 months of fermentation with the Brett. And for homebrewers out there, the gravity probably goes from around 1065 to 1010 with our house yeast in about a week and a half, maybe even less, and then it takes probably well over 4 months to go from 1010 to 1004.
Okay.
So that Brett it takes forever, but it really dries it out, and it just gives it just huge flavor complexity.
So this label that I'm looking at says January of 2009, but this beer began how long ago?
Oh, we probably brewed that beer in the summer of 2008.
Okay.
So we bottled it January of 2009. We brewed it in the summer, probably late summer of 2008.
Okay.
Because, like I said, that Brett takes at least 4 months to do its thing. It takes forever to ferment out.
Now, if I were to hold on to this, would the Brett keep working in the bottle, or is it done in terms of Brett?
It really is done. We try to make sure it's done before it goes into the bottle.
Okay.
Only because we'd have issues with, if that Brett's still going in the bottle, that carbonation will continue to rise.
Yeah.
So it is essentially done by the time it hits the bottle. And we know that because we take samples of the beer regularly during fermentation, and we'll put more of our same Brett into the beer and put it in a warm environment in a bottle with a cork. And we'll then pierce the beer regularly. It's a little device that basically puts a needle down through the cork and tells us the carbonation.
Oh.
So we'll look at that every week for a couple months to make sure we don't have any continual fermentation. And when that fermentation's totally stopped, we'll bottle it. And it is, with these beers, and it's another reason these beers are so expensive, they're just hugely labor intensive and stress intensive, I'll add. But we're dealing with an unknown. There's no brewing book we can read that says, hey, if you're using this random Brett yeast that you found growing in a batch of beer at the brewery, it's going to ferment the beer out to this point. I mean, it's a mystery we're learning. So there's a lot of kind of experimentation and lab work that goes into these beers before they're released.
Okay. Now, a listener asks, NH Brewer, he's in our chat room with Bevo, he wants to know if you add a dosage of sugar to the bottle, too, for it to bottle condition, or is there enough residual for it to be okay?
No, good question. And it's a really good question, especially considering the fact that we're using Brett, because, you could theoretically have a beer that you ferment with a standard ale yeast and then don't add sugar but put a Brett into it and let the Brett continue to ferment residual sugars that the ale yeast couldn't ferment out. to carbonate it. But in the case of this beer, we let the ale yeast and Brett beer ferment to completion in the fermentation tank and the conditioning tank, and then what we'll do is we'll add we'll do a filtration on the beer to remove our primary yeast and the Brett, and we'll then add a dose of sugar. And we'll add a different strain of ale yeast to the beer for bottle fermentation.
Okay.
So that's how we carbonate that beer. In that beer, like all of our beers that are in the bottle, are re-fermented in the bottle.
They are, okay. And what's
every beer we do in the bottle is re-fermented in the bottle.
What's the base of this beer? What was the base beer before you put in the two yeasts, the confluence of yeasts?
It's its own unique beer. And, with a lot of our beers lately, what we've been trying to do is just come up with beers that you really can't put into a particular style. So it really doesn't fit into any particular style. It's, I'd almost loosely call it, maybe a pale, like a light pale ale.
Okay.
But it's just tough to put it into any specific category.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is, when you're using complex yeast like this, and especially when you're using two of them together, and that's really the flavor profile of the beer, you can have a fairly simple base beer, right? I mean, it could be an almost entirely
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I mean is, it could really just be, it could have been your wit, or it could have just been a 2-row wort or something. It could be pretty simple.
No question. And for this beer and for other beers, we actually the only base beer that we share for our kind of quote-unquote specialty beers would be the triple, which we use to make the Curio.
Okay.
But for all these other beers, we write their own unique recipe. But you bring up a very good... It's a good point for a couple of reasons. Number one, not only do you not need a complex recipe, we almost look at it as, really try to steer away from a complex recipe. Keep it simple.
Okay.
We're big believers in keeping it simple, and especially with the Belgian yeast, let the yeast do the work. Let the yeast express itself. I think sometimes if you make it too complicated, you lose some of the subtle flavors that the yeast will give you.
Okay.
So we really try to keep things very simple, and it's almost like not that I'm a writer, but it's almost like writing. Sometimes it's harder to write a letter in 5 lines and express whatever you're trying to think than it is in 50 lines. It's hard to condense things.
Yeah.
And I think with brewing, we kind of approach it like that. Try to condense it as much as possible. Try to keep it simple. And sometimes just by keeping it simple, you end up with kind of more complexity, and the beer is just kind of a little more... there's more going on. It's like cooking. You add 20 spices to a dish, all of a sudden you can't taste any of the spices.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just add 1 or 2 spices, you just get all these flavors that neither of the 2 spices have on their own.
Okay. I also see by looking at the bottle that I owe Chad $21.99. Which folks at home, it's worth every penny.
Yeah, I'd pay that.
This beer is great, and while I'm talking about how great it is, I want to call out Bevo, our chat moderator. She's answering the phone and sending questions today. When she was drinking your Fluxus, Rob, she put an ice cube in it.
It's really hot.
You put an ice cube in a wonderful beer.
But
like
I drank
Fluxus.
it before the ice cube dissolved.
You did?
Yeah, there's still ice in there. See?
She looks me right in the face. We're talking to you. We're in the middle of something,
I knew you were gonna judge me.
She looks me right in the face and drops an ice cube down in it, and it was all I could do to fire her on the spot.
Well, it was such a good beer, and I was enjoying it.
Oh, Rob's done it.
I was enjoying it so much, I didn't want to not drink it. So.
Yeah, I see.
No, I've done it before.
I like him.
God, you see, you just made friends with Bevo, Rob. Last time I did it, I think I was 15. I had a warm can of Miller, and I was in a backseat of a car or something, and that's the last time I put an ice cube in a beer. So it did bring back some memories, Bevo.
hey, sometimes you got to do it, you know.
Glad to bring you back to your youth.
Yeah. I need it. All right, really. Just go ahead, Chad.
Rob, I just wanted to ask you about the collaboration beers you're doing, and you're doing these lambic styles. I mean, you're not spontaneous. Would you ever do, say, a blend with another brewery? Is that in the works? Have you talked about that, or is that something you'd ever consider?
I never say never in this business. I've never thought about it, and I know there are issues. Fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to look at it in this business, with just all the regulations with blending that we'd have to look into. But I'm definitely not opposed to doing some kind of blending. I think that might be a lot of fun. Yeah. Just take a couple different, especially to maybe take two beers with totally different styles and origins and blend them. That's one of the great things. This is a really cool industry. You look at a lot of industries, and people are all secretive about what they do and what their processes are and what their ingredients are. That's not this business at all. If any brewers ever come to Maine and want to come through our place, I'm more than happy to show them around. And there's really no secrets. And that's kind of been taken to the next level recently, like you mentioned, with the whole collaboration thing. And so I think that could really be extended and kind of taken to the next level with blending. So, maybe that's something we do. It poses some challenges with regulation, I think.
Sure.
But I think something like that I think you'll start to see stuff like that happening.
Cool.
Yeah, I hope so. I love it when I see, two of my favorite breweries. I mean, imagine, you just have two favorite, and they say, oh, we're doing a collaboration. Oh, I'm buying that beer. I don't care what it turns out to be. You want to try it.
You've done two, recently in the last couple of years, DeProof and Destroysa.
Yeah,
right?
we've actually done, we've done
Probably
those
multiple,
two,
right?
and we did, the first one was that Isabella Proximus that we all went to Tommy's brewery. Tommy, Adam, Vinny, and Sam and I were at Tommy's place. We did the Isabella Proximus, which was a lot of fun, and it came out great. And then Jason, our brewmaster, went over to Belgium and did the DeProof signature beer, Le Deux Brasseurs, which was with our house Brett yeast and with the DeProof Brett yeast. And then Destroysa was in the Northeast about a year ago.
Yeah.
And they want to do a couple collaboration beers. They brewed one with Todd Mott at Portsmouth Brewing, which, if any of you are ever in the Portsmouth area, he is a phenomenal brewer.
Did we talk to Todd, Chet? I know I've had his beer. That's why I can't remember if I've just had his beer or if he's been on the show. Maybe they just
if you haven't, you should, because he's one of the brewers I idolize. He is just a phenomenal brewer.
Okay.
He's one of the first when I was working at Otter Creek, I went down and visited him at Commonwealth Brewery in Boston, and every single beer he brews, I fall in love with. He's a phenomenal brewer.
Okay.
So, the Destroysa crew brewed with him, and then they came out and brewed with us. So
great. Love those guys, too.
Yeah. So, we love doing those beers. They're a lot of fun.
Now, I heard a story about the Isabel Proximus. Can you tell us the story of the name? Or is that not public knowledge?
No,
Chad's done his research. I like it.
The Belgian phone company when we were over there is called Bell Proximus. It's like BELLPROXIMAS or something like that.
Yeah.
So we named it Isabella Proximus. So I don't even know. It probably came out of us riding around on. We had this big bus that we were all riding around in. And we were, I don't have to tell you, we were drinking a lot of beer.
A lot of Belgian beer at that.
Yeah, starting at whenever we got on the bus, which is 9 or 10 in the morning, till whenever we got off it, which was usually pretty late.
Wow.
And we just, one thing led to another, and that ended up being the name. So.
Great. All right. Rob, I know that it's late there on the East Coast. If I could squeeze in a couple more listener questions, we can let you go. One of our listeners wrote in to me early on in the week. As soon as he heard you're going to be on the show, he sent me just a couple questions, if you could spend another few minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. He wanted to know if you could suggest a yeast strain that's similar to your yeast strain. You know, we can buy from a few different companies. So White Labs, big supporter of the show. Y Yeast.
Yeah.
Anything similar to what you use that we might be able to get a hold of?
Yeah. For our house yeast, what I would say, and I don't know I can kind of yes and no. I don't know the numbers of these yeasts, but both White Labs and Y Yeast have a traditional Belgian wheat beer yeast. And I think both of them might even have a couple of them. But I would say if you grabbed a traditional white beer yeast from either Y Yeast or White Labs, you'd be, pretty close to our yeast.
Okay.
It's a traditional white beer yeast. And I'll also add, if you want to be kind of real adventurous, our Allagash White, we do not use a different yeast for bottle conditioning. We use the same yeast for bottle conditioning as we do for primary fermentation, just in the white. So the sediment in our white you can reculture and grow, and that's our house yeast.
Okay.
So I always tell people, we like to leave a little bit of mystery. Just, you gotta have something, gotta have a little mystery, right?
Sure.
We keep the origins of our house yeast secret, but it's sitting right there in every bottle of Allagash White. There is not a different bottling yeast. There's a different bottling yeast in our double, triple, Grand Cru 4, Curio. But for the white, it's our house yeast all the way through.
Okay. Well, and I'll be honest with you. Someone had, written in earlier in the show and asked if we could culture yeast right from your bottles. And it sounds like the white, if you wanted to get a white that yeast, you could take it right from the bottle.
You can indeed.
For your bottle conditioning. More importantly, are you sitting on a squeaky wheelchair or in a field of crickets? There's something going on back there. You guys hear crickets?
That's a good question. It is a field of crickets.
It is.
I didn't even notice it until you asked that. I was standing right out in front of my house.
Nice.
We live in Maine, kind of in the country, so.
It sounds beautiful. We can only hear the refinery from our house. It sounds like you have a nice porch.
It's funny because I was going to do this interview up in our bedroom where it's kind of quiet, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to sit on the porch.
Yeah.
And then the phone was coming in, outside.
Good.
So I'm just sitting outside, and I'm amazed you can even hear it, but yeah, there's crickets everywhere. I can see like fireflies in the field and
That's awesome.
hear the crickets. So I'm sitting out here drinking an Allagash White and just enjoying New England, which I might add is pretty hard to enjoy 8 out of 12 months of the year. So.
Chad and I are both from there, and I'll agree with you on that. That's why I now live in California. Although you can...
Yeah, in all that, I'm bundled up in a jacket with a hood on, so but the crickets seem to be staying pretty warm. So
Rob's going to wake up covered in mosquito bites tomorrow, though.
I'll admit to you. Well, that's what I wrote on my little Twitter. I said I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, but it's worth it.
Good. All right. Well, tell us that tomorrow when you're itching, if it's really worth it.
Really.
Okay, couple more questions from the same listener. So let me pair this with another question that we always ask. He wants tips for cloning 4. This particular listener loves the 4 and would if you have any tips about cloning it. But also, Rob, we always do try to get a recipe, and any recipe that you'd like to give out of our guests. And I know that you maybe don't have them in front of you. It sounds like you've got a brewmaster now. But even if you could get back to us, if there's anything that isn't so proprietary that you wouldn't mind giving to the listeners, they love to brew our guests' beers and see if they can do it. I don't know if there's any one of your beers that you'd be willing to do that with us, but I thought I'd pair those together.
Yeah, the one, and again, what you said is absolutely right. You got to ask Jason, because I haven't milled one of these batches of beers in a long time. But
okay,
I'll go back to the one I mentioned that's really, ingredient-wise, probably the most straightforward that allows the yeast to express itself, and that would be the triple. And recipe-wise, and I'm not going to be able to recall the initial gravity, but I'll say it's about a 9% beer, so wherever that would put the original gravity.
Sure.
And basically, it's just 2-row. And I would use a Pilsner malt, not a pale ale malt.
Okay.
So I'd use a Pilsner malt, or a very light 2-row malt. That would be the only grain. Mash it, and I would recommend mashing it at a low temperature. We really believe, and actually you mentioned the 4, that would maybe be one exception. We like to mash at the lower end of the temperature range to keep the beer a little drier. Then a very simple hop bill with a noble hop. So you could use a Zotz, Hallertau, Tettnanger, even a Golding's hop.
Okay.
Very simple hop.
For how many IBUs?
Boy, you're starting to. Yeah.
Now you're pissing me off.
You're stretching. No, not pissing me off. You're stretching my ability to remember.
We could probably guess.
I'm going to throw out a guess of 30 IBUs for a 9% beer.
Okay,
that's a guess. Probably a lot of homebrewers out there are saying, "Oh, geez, he doesn't know what he's talking about."
No, I
which
think
is pretty much the case.
Even a range 30 to 40 is probably.
Yeah, I'm guessing more towards the 30 side of that on the IBUs for that beer. So, you want enough hop character to balance the sweetness of the malt. And then, for our particular triple, I'd ferment it out with a wheat beer yeast. You don't necessarily need an Abbey yeast for that beer. Don't be afraid to try it with a wheat beer yeast. And that higher alcohol content is really going to bring out a different flavor profile from that yeast.
That's interesting. Because it's still a Belgian style beer, but you're not getting Belgian yeast characteristics out of it.
You're getting different Belgian yeast characteristics out of it, for sure.
All right.
You definitely want to use a Belgian wheat yeast. So, again, from Y Yeast or White Labs, they've got, I believe each company's probably got a couple wheat beer yeasts. Or Belgian wheat beer yeast. Definitely use a Belgian wheat beer yeast. That's important.
Okay.
So use a Belgian wheat beer yeast.
And do we ferment a little warmer to get some of those extra flavors out of
good question. We actually prefer fermenting at a cooler temperature, so we ferment generally at the lower end of the temperature range of the yeast. So look at whatever the yeast lab says is the optimal fermentation range. So if it says, 63 to 71 Fahrenheit, maybe start it at 64 or 65. When the fermentation is 2/3 done, let it rise maybe 2 or 3 degrees if you have that kind of control.
Yeah.
Then let it ferment out, and I'll also add with the triple during the boil to kind of back up sugar. And you can use a light Belgian candy sugar. You can also use sucrose. You can use Domino sugar. So you can use cane sugar or beet sugar. Each cane sugar and beet sugar, you're going to get a little bit of a different flavor profile from, but if you use standard cane sugar, you're going to get very close to what you get in a Belgian candy sugar.
Okay. Oh, that sounds like a recipe to me, guys.
Yeah,
huh? We can work with that.
Got it.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. All right.
Yeah, I still got it.
Right. Okay. So my last question for you, then, so we can let you get out of here, is I got to know about I have to know about Gargamel, because I've read about it on your site, and it's your newest beer, and it's only available. By the way, we're going to be out there in what did we say, Chad? Is it August?
August. Yeah.
We're going to be out
20th,
there.
Yep.
We're going to Ebenezer's for. They did this last year.
I'm going to try to be at that.
Oh, good. I would love it to meet you there. And in fact, how far would you be from there? How far far is Portland, Maine from there?
They're in Lovell.
About 50 minutes to an hour.
Oh, we can do that, Chad.
Oh, yeah.
So even if you don't make it to Ebenezer's, or even if you do, we might come to Allagash at the same time. Just to, because this
Well,
beer...
you absolutely should come out and let me know in advance so we can make sure to take care of you. We'd love to see you out there.
I will do. In fact, I will email you this week with the dates because I really would like to go there, and I really would like to. So I'm reading about this Gargamel, and it just sounds like it's right up my alley. So I thought that you could torture me for just the last segment of this interview and tell me about this beer.
Well, this beer, we were real excited about this beer. It's funny because it basically, and again, this is one of those base beers you really can't put into any, you can't pigeonhole into any specific category, but it aged in actually 4 oak barrels, in French oak wine barrels. And this particular beer, well, out of the 4 wine barrels, we added, I think it was a half a pound per barrel of local raspberries to the beer, fresh raspberries to the beer. The exact quantity probably actually, maybe it was a half a pound per gallon, but Jason could answer that better than I could.
Okay.
But we added fresh barrels to each of these barrels, or fresh raspberries to each of these barrels, and then we let it age in our cellars for a year and a half. And, probably halfway through it, the beer really wasn't that interesting, but after a year or so in the barrel, it started just to take on this real complex taste. It started to sour a little bit, and after about a year and a half in the barrels, it really just, the beer blossomed. And we tasted this beer, we kind of looked at each other, and we were like, wow, we got to bottle this beer.
Great.
But we only had a couple of these wooden barrels. We had 4 total, and for this particular beer, we tasted all 4, and we ended up blending 3 of them. And we didn't have too much volume, so we bottled maybe around 500 or 600 bottles. We did it in a split champagne bottle, a 375 ml bottle. Cork finished, and we didn't have enough to put it into distribution, so we just sold it in the store at the brewery. We put it on sale Thursday, and it was gone, I think, by Monday morning.
Oh, wow. I've got a caller on, NH Brewer, who says he's opening a bottle of it right now. He's
oh, cool.
He was lucky.
Right.
NH, what's happening, brother?
I'm pulling the bottle out of the fridge, Justin, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I want to...
Gargamel here, we're going to crack that shit.
Wow, one of the lucky guys that got into your limited edition.
I guess we showed up, I don't know.
I'm under pressure right now. Huh?
Yeah, you are.
I hope he likes it.
I know.
Yeah, I hope he likes it, I'm sure. Well, here, open that up, sweetheart.
Wow.
So we were there, I don't know, about 8:45 or so. It was a rainy morning. We were there hanging out. They opened the store. They had cases available. We got as many bottles as we could, and I'll tell you that Rob was very gregarious to me. As a home brewer, I let him know that we hold a home brewer function every year for charity in New Hampshire for the New England Homebrewers Jamboree, and he was more than happy to let us know that he would donate a barrel for us to auction off.
Wow,
cool.
Very
That's
nice.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Just let me know. No problem. Yeah, we're happy to help with the home brewer competition.
We'll sulfur it right up for you. We'll have it ready for fermentation. Yeah.
So great.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. We'll like I said, I remember talking to you. Yeah, we'll rinse a barrel, sulfur it up for you. And yeah, he mentioned it was rainy. That was the one we were really hoping for, a nice, warm, kind of one of those miracle New England days, and we didn't get it. But hey,
yeah,
it's only rain, right?
Yeah, what are you going to do?
So,
and by the way, that's some serious wishful thinking in New England anyway.
I know, really.
Great days.
Yeah, so that's a fact.
It's pretty cool you have these 375 ml bottles, too. I mean, I know Russian River was using those for a while, and then he switched over to 750s. I mean, is that a tough bottle to get? Is it price, or...
It's expensive.
It is, and Russian River uses a slightly different bottle than we do.
Oh, okay.
But we import these bottles from Europe, and they're not real easy to get, but it's a nice presentation.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I love that.
Lindemans
You know,
might use.
one of the reasons we used a smaller bottle instead of the big bottle, this was so limited, we wanted to give as many people as we could the opportunity to try it.
Yeah.
You know, it took a year and a half to make, so if we do it again, it's going to be a year and a half or more before anyone gets the chance to try it. So.
Then if you're by yourself at home, it's easier to drink.
All right, New Hampshire brewer, have you poured that beer into proper glassware, I hope?
Justin, this is fucking sick.
It's good, huh?
Oh my god, it's ridiculous. Yeah, we poured it into champagne flutes.
Okay.
I figured that was appropriate.
That's probably a great glass to pour it into.
Oh yeah, sure. The nose is, first of all, it's unbelievably amazing. The strain that they have there at Allagash and Brettanomyces is so fruity anyway, and you stack it on top of it's kind of a malolactic acidic raspberry flavor. And then that bread throws off such a flavor of kind of they say toasted bread. I kind of think it's heavy in the melanoidin area. I don't know, it's really nice, man.
My mouth is watering.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It gives me a little bit of the Rosé de Gambrinus from Cantillon.
Oh, that's all. I just finished. That's all you had to say.
No, I mean, a little bit. I mean, that beer has a lot of very upfront sour characteristics and a bunch of, it's very tart, but still so, wonderfully bouquet in the end. And as I'm drinking it, every time I have a sip, I'm like, do I want to stop talking to them and just finish this beer or not? But
now, is this beer? Would you call this beer tart, or would you call it more on the bready side?
No, it's much more tart.
Okay.
The Brett that they have, I have already tonight. I had a bottle of Interlude.
Yeah.
Which is another one of their Brett beers. He was talking about it earlier.
Yeah, sounds great.
It's not necessarily very sour. And it's not really very barnyardy, but it's very, very fruity.
Okay.
When they
I would agree. I agree with that caller 100%. I mean, it is, our Brett is not real tart, and the Interlude's not real tart, but it definitely has that fruity character. And this Gargamel is, much more tart. So,
okay,
I mean, that's a good assessment. And it's funny that with that beer, with a lot of beers we ration it out because we're pretty limited. We do small batches, we'll ration out to employees. And for the Gargamel, we just said, I think it was 3 bottles per employee, and I shouldn't say it. Don't tell anyone. I've stolen a lot more bottles than 3. So
look, please,
I'm just loading my fridge up with this beer. I love it.
Just please save some for August.
It's all gone. What's that?
Please save some for August. I need to try this beer. It just looks like
we'll save a couple. We made a very limited amount and put some aside right away for events over the next couple years. So anyone that couldn't get to the brewery, hopefully maybe at one of these special events will be able to try it. And then we put some of it aside for sale in the store, and it's sold really quickly. But we did keep some for special events. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll even get to dip into anymore because the rest of it's we just want to keep it for some events. When it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
So,
well, New Hampshire,
it was a lot of fun.
New Hampshire brewer, thank you for sharing your taste with us, brother. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks,
man. I'd have sent you a bottle a week earlier, but
no, it's all right, man. No, save it.
I sent a bottle out.
We'll go out there and try.
Thanks for coming by the brewery to pick it up, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's a wonderful beer, and I'd like to thank you guys for taking the leap of faith that has all enjoyed, at least to hear, I mean, I'm having Confluence, Interlude, Gargamel tonight, and I wouldn't be doing that without a leap of faith that you all took when you decided to make this wild or sour, funky beer go, so.
True that. All right, brother. Hey, thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Hey, he makes a good point. You jumped into the Belgian beer business when there was no Belgian beer business here, so I guess we all owe you a thanks for that. All right. Well, Rob, I know it's late, so I appreciate the time. I'll let you go, and you can get back to work in the morning at a reasonable hour. Thank you so much for spending time on the program with us.
Thank you.
I'll let you know when we're going to be there in August so we can shake your hand and try your beer.
well, definitely let me know. I had a blast, doing the show with you guys. I appreciate it. And, I look forward to having a beer with you guys when you get back east to New England.
Yeah, love to do it. And I'll tell you what we'll do, too. When we're there, we'll shake hands with Jason, and we'll book another Allagash show with Jason, and we can geek out on recipes and stuff with him, too. Well, I'm happy to do more than one Allagash show. That'll be great for us. So...
Yeah, you should do that. He's awesome, and, he does a phenomenal job in the brewery, and he's much more in tune, especially these days with the recipes that I am and a lot of the innovation we've got going on right now. So, I'm sure that would be a great show. He'd do a great job.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks, Rob. We will be seeing you soon, and really, I appreciate the time.
Thank you guys very much, and thanks to everyone who's taken the time to listen. I appreciate it.
All right. Cheers, brother.
Thanks.
Take it easy.
There you go, Rob Todd from Allagash.
Yeah.
Told you he'd be a blast. You go to allagash.com, check it out, and he's just a nice guy and good philosophy on beer.
Yeah, I like the keep it simple, keep the ingredients balanced kind of thing.
Yeah. Some breweries are all philosophy and the beer doesn't cut it, and some breweries are all profit and the philosophy doesn't cut it. He's got a good balance going. When the beer really backs up what he's talking about. So
yeah, I kind of wanted to ask the question of the culture in Maine, because Maine's kind of, blue collar.
Yeah.
Just. I don't know, kind of middle of nowhere, like he had said, and I'm just curious, what the reception of that beer is up there.
Well, he's in 15 states, so...
Well, that helps, but I'm just curious, just the local culture there.
I think that you're right. I think it has that blue-collar feel, and from the outside in, it is surprising, but I think that Maine also has a very... original feel to them. I think the people who live in Maine are they're go-getters, they're self-doers, and do you know what I mean? And
absolutely.
I think that they're, even though it is a blue-collar culture, I think they're more willing to accept a guy like Rob who's going to do his own thing and do it in their backyard. Yeah. I'd be willing, interested to ask him too, Chad. But I'd be willing to bet that he'd say something like, you know what, the people here really like it when we do that kind of stuff.
Appreciate the artisan nature.
Yeah.
Tell you what, I'd love to drink these beers with some seafood, some lobster. Oh man,
I wish I liked seafood. Actually, I like lobster. I could eat it with that. Well, we really should try to go see Allagash if we go do the whole thing up there.
I've heard he's never been to Ebenezer's too.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so.
Oh, we'll encourage him to come out with us then.
Yeah.
We'll get him to. Come on, if it's 50 minutes, we're going, he's going. Come on, piece of cake, right? Is Destroysa coming back for this dinner too?
I think it's an annual thing. I think they look forward to it.
Which means, come on, you can't miss this.
Oh, yeah. We're doing it.
It's going to sell out in like 8 minutes at dinner. Okay, quick break. And we're going to wrap things up when we come back, but we still have a lot to do. I've got to give away a 2-tap draft box from Beer, and More Beer. We've got to do that if you entered in the raffle, so we're going to raffle those things off. Colin Kaminsky from Downtown Joe is going to come on and give us his weekly brew tip. We're going to do that. We could take Drunk of the Week calls, and we got to give away some Belgian candy sugar. So no reason to go anywhere. We're going to make it short and sweet, but a lot of things to do right now. So hang in there. It's The Session. We'll be right back.
Listening to the Brewcasters. On the Brewing Network.
Nico, listen, our lawyers said that we had to do this for 1 hour, and after this, we don't have to talk to each other for 3 more months to the next meeting.
Kids, come on, let's get out of here.
I'm supposed to have more lines. I'm the professional. Hey, it's Sully.
And I'm Nico.
And we opened the 21st Amendment 9 years ago at 563 2nd Street in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park, to make great beer and have a great time doing it.
That's right, because to us, the 21st Amendment is more than just the right to make beer. It's the right to experiment, to be innovative, and just do things differently. And so now, we're putting our craft beer in cans.
That's right, cans. You can find our world-famous Hell or High Watermelon Wheat Beer and Brew Free or Die IPA throughout California and Alaska.
And now it's also available on draft at select accounts in the Bay Area.
So next time you're at your local neighborhood pub or good beer store, be sure to ask for 21st Amendment in cans.
Because everyone likes it in a can.
Tasty crack cans.
Tasty crack can.
Okay, I rolled a 15 and I get a +2 from my yeast starter.
Nope, sorry. You failed your roll. Your beer is infected.
No way.
You had to beat a 24. It's schizosaccharomyces.
This sucks. I just failed versus oxidation. Our party is fracked. Doug's the only one left, and his beer is a Berliner Weiss.
What's this? A tea party?
Hey, this is a brew session, man. Get lost.
Is that an actual beer?
Yeah, I crafted it. I don't really use the dice anymore. I'm a 10th level beer nerd.
Are you a 10th level beer nerd? Does your significant other know the difference between an Irish red ale and a Flanders red ale? Do you burp, strizzle, spalt, and fart Y East 2308? Then you're in good company at Northern Brewer. Northern Brewer has all your beer nerd needs, ingredients, equipment, and knowledge 24 hours a day at northernbrewer.com. Plus fast, cheap shipping, only $7.99 for the contiguous USA. And check out Northern Brewer's huge selection of dorky beer kits, including the socially awkward Patter's beer and the sci-fi convention showstopper number 8. Make 10th level at northernbrewer.com.
Wait till you can pour it out of your own kegerator.
I mean, your friends will look at you with awe.
And it's just hot.
It is?
It's so super hot.
The home of live beer radio. TheBrewingNetwork.com.
Because like beer,
Radio shouldn't suck. You're listening to The Session. Keeping the ass out of Brewcast. This is the Brewing Network.
Yeah, welcome back to the program. Hey, thanks again to Rob Todd from Allagash. Go to allagash.com, and a lot of fun hanging out with him for me.
Good info, too.
Yeah, I was just telling these guys to break. I wasn't kissing ass when I said I'm a bigger fan now than I was at the beginning. Tasting his beers it kind of happens with a lot of our interviews. If the guest is cool and has interesting things to say about beer, it actually happens to me a lot. Tasting their beer alongside of listening to them talk about it almost always makes me a bigger fan. If they've got interesting things to say about their beer, and it was certainly the case with Rob. As I'm drinking these beers and he's telling me the company philosophy and the ingredients, there's something about that. And I hope that that's kind of the charm of our show for listeners, too, that they get to kind of do that. If you don't ever taste the guests' beers along with our listening to our show, I suggest you do.
Yeah, go back and buy some and then replay the show.
Because there is something about it. It's like... it's like listen to your story. You get the story. Yeah. Like, all right, think of your favorite song, right? You love the song, and you have what you think about the song and what the lyrics mean in your head. But imagine if you could ask the songwriter every time what he was thinking about and what he, and that's kind of the same thing to me with this beer. I get to ask the creators of the beer what they're thinking about, and he did a good job. I guess is what I'm saying. I'm a big fan.
It's like having a crazy bitch and kind of going, "Well, that's kind of cool." Then you hear the story, go, "Wow, that's fucking cool." It's like that, right?
I like Chad's analogy better than mine. Mine's kind of a sissy girl analogy. That's a mount over there.
That's just because you've never had a crazy bitch.
Yeah, I guess so.
You've never mounted a Sasquatch.
You've never mounted one. Yeah. Oh, boy. Well, we've got a Drunk of the Week call on the line already, and we got a few things going on we got to finish in this last segment. A lot of giveaways to do.
Great. So. What am I getting? I've been in the studio for like 6 hours today, I think.
After the weekend that you've had too tasty, and you did the Brew Strong shows today, you deserve a gift of some kind.
Yeah.
Bevo, will you flash Tasty today for his service to the BN?
No.
I tried, buddy.
All right. Maybe we should just take it off and leave it off.
Shat, will you flash Tasty today for his service to the BN?
No.
Oh, not even Shat will flash you.
Oh, man. It kind of gets nothing.
All right, let's go to Abe from Ohio, who's calling in for Drunk of the Week. Abe, what's happening?
Hey, what's up? The second time calling for the same evening.
That's all right. It happens to us all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, just wanted to... Well, it's my user handle name thing from the chat room is Abe Froman.
Okay.
Which I'm sure you know the reference from Ferris Bueller's the Sausage King of Chicago.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah.
I like it.
I've been a professional sausage maker, and sausage and beer go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
And if anybody wants to know anything about sausage, I've been kind of harassing the chat room a bit.
Bevo had some.
Here, I got a list right here.
You want to know anything about sausage, Bevo?
No, I know all I need to know.
No, you don't.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
You're married to Sam.
Think about,
Cocktail wieners.
yeah, but think about Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
Okay, Oktoberfest, beer and sausage, right?
Yeah.
And actually, the sausage production on a home level is extremely similar to home brewing. There's the mixing, the fermenting, the making of pork. If you look at it, is kind of like your base malt, and you use your
Yeah, did he say pork?
I'm not listening to anything, though, because Bevo's totally rubbing her feet in front of me.
Oh.
Like she's rubbing her own feet. And I don't really like feet, but there's something about it. It's not bad today.
It's pretty cool.
Probably because I don't care about sausage. And I'm easily sidetracked right now. Right now, it's kind of cool. Her feet are all sweaty. It's stinky.
Stinky, cheesy.
Yeah.
I just figured some sausage information would be a little bit more novel than bleeber gleepy globba goop and trying to sing a poor falsetto, trying to sing a
well, that's where you're
Dion song.
That's where you're wrong.
You're wrong about that. We love that.
Yeah,
if he comes on the line here, Reddit, you're dropped.
Yeah, you're out of here. If Blobber comes online too.
If you want to go toe to toe for singing bad falsettos, I'll totally go toe to toe for him singing like this.
Maybe we get a duet going.
Hey, if this is a drunk of the week call, then now we're talking.
This is totally a drunk of the week call. I mean, fuck it. I already called in and said how much I love the BN and.
Did you just pick dirt out from in between your toes,
Bevo? My
Bevo?
brew setup.
No.
I saw you picking something down there.
Are you hoping she did?
The string.
You sure?
Yes.
Did you use the microphone cord to pick dirt out from in between your
There's
toes?
no dirt in between my toes.
Are you sure?
I just got a pedicure.
Oh.
Jeez.
Was there dirt in there before you got the pedicure?
Possibly.
Do you ever go for a pedicure and isn't that embarrassing? Like, did they ever go, oh, there's a little stuff in here?
No, only after. Well, they soak your feet beforehand, but I only am
Get the shit off.
I'm either embarrassed
Yeah.
when I forget to shave my legs beforehand because you get a full leg massage,
Oh,
or if I come back from camping, my feet are just disgusting.
I see.
Well, they say it in a
Either
different
way,
language
it's
too,
nastiness from Bevo.
right?
Yeah. All right.
Either
Well,
way, it's nasty. She either got fucking mushrooms growing out of her toes, or she's got fucking hair growing out of the legs. Either way, it's nasty.
what are we talking? What? Bevo is not that nasty. You must be talking about Sam.
I've seen the pictures. I know she's not, but talking about, I'm just taking the time and.
All right, Abe, you better give us the list of.
I'm having a hard time articulating.
Give us the list of drinks you had so far today.
Well, I drank a 6-pack of Hop Slam from Bell's Brewery, which I don't know if you guys get the limited brews all the way out in California from Michigan. But Hop Slam's a 10% double IPA out of Bell's.
Okay.
And
what else?
It kicks ass.
Good.
And I've supplemented that with Grassroots Ale from Great Lakes Brewing.
Okay.
Which is a Saison, which that has totally turned me onto the Saison. I think Great Lakes.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Saison is probably the best beer ever.
Okay.
Yeah, here's good beer coming out of there.
I'm going to get the life story of every beer.
And once now, my palate's been shot. Now I'm just filling it in with the Miller Low Life.
Oh.
I can't taste shit anymore.
Really? I've never subscribed to that. Turn it down for a second. That theory where you catch your buzz, you get your drunk on the good beer, and then it doesn't matter anymore. So you can go. So you also buy a supplemental pack, like 12-pack of High Life or Pabst or something. I've never been able to do that. Like if I'm going to keep drinking, I want to keep enjoying the beer.
Yeah, more and more flavorful rather than.
There's a whole segment of beer drinkers out there that'll do that. They'll spend and I can see the point. It costs a little bit of money on the good beer, and then once you're that drunk anyway. There's this whole theory that says buy good beer, get your buzz on, and then go ahead and finish with the shit.
Shit, yeah, right.
I know,
Absolutely, and the Miller Low Life is a great supplemental
That's pretty
beer.
shitty, yeah.
We tried doing the when we first moved in with each other.
All right, so you're in the running for Drunk of the Week, Abe. I got to clear the lines, brother. I'm sorry. I do apologize. You're in the running for Drunk of the Week. I got to, I'll get complaints about not having the line clear, busy signals, and good Lord, it's hot enough in here.
Really? Where's the break?
Bevo fell asleep twice during the program already tonight.
Shh, don't tell people that.
I like Abe. I'm sure hanging out with Abe is nice. Abe on the radio? But definitely in the running for Drunk of the Week, which is why I called, and so purpose served. There you go. 888-401-BEER. If you want to register yourself for Drunk of the Week, then please do so. 888-401-BEER. All right, guys, I wanted to ask you before we get into our... actually, let me do this giveaway first, and then I'll ask you about Long Shot, because Tasty and Shat were just at Long Shot all weekend long.
Good time.
We got to do our More Beer donation giveaway.
All right. It's here.
And this month it's exciting because the prize kicks ass.
Yeah, it's nice.
Now, all of our prizes have been pretty good. Let's face it, don't you think? I'm not just blowing smoke
no,
up
they've
our
all
own
been
ass.
top-notch. Yes,
We've given away a Jameel-style immersion chiller, which does the Whirlpool dealio, too.
Right.
We've given away a conical, was our first More Beer donation giveaway. We've given away a full temperature control setup last month with a Renko and a digital temp controller and a firm wrap heater, and there was something. Also the what's it called? The dip tube.
Thermowell?
Thank you. The Thermowell.
Oh, yeah. That's key.
So we've given away some good stuff. This one is so perfect for this time of year. It's hot outside, and we're giving away a 2-tap draft system for More Beer. It's got the cooler with the copper coils. You get your beer cold instantly as you're serving it. So if you entered by becoming a BN Army member or by donating $5 or $5 increments, then your name is in the BN Raffle Man jar, which is in front of the Beeve right now. And one lucky BNer is going to win himself a 2-tap draft box, courtesy of More Beer. Now, I'm going to take video of Bevo drawing out of the Raffle Man so that we can put it on the BN Army blog. I don't know if you guys have seen that lately, but I try to post a little bit of post-show video after our shows and different content, give you an extra look at what we're doing. So if you're not keeping an eye on the BN Army blog, you should be. And you can sign up for the RSS feed, too, and then it will notify you automatically of... what we're doing. So let me roll camera here while I also do this on the air. All right, Beavis. She's shaking up the BN Raffle Man, and she is going to be the drawer of a winner, if that's English. Not sure that it is. She's reaching inside the Raffle Man. You can see. Really, Bevo, this film is to make sure that we're following all the rules. It's not to see how cute and sweaty you are. It's just to make sure that you're actually you just smelt her. Use the microphone, too.
Can you clean your feet?
Yeah. And she smelled her own armpit, which is you'll see on the video. It's kind of hot, I guess, in a foot rubbing sort of way. Okay, do we have a winner in your hands?
We do.
Okay, and who is a winner of a More Beer 2-tap draft box, courtesy of morebeer.com?
It is Dustin Peters.
Dustin Peters, my brother. Congratulations. You will receive your gift as soon as More Beer gets to shipping it to you, which is generally pretty quickly. Thanks, Beavis.
You're welcome.
I appreciate the drawing. It's on film, so if anyone wants to say that we're cheating and giving it to people that we want to win, you can see all among the pottery, the armpit smelling, and the cleavage that we're actually doing it right, where we draw from the...
I haven't seen much cleavage. What are you talking about?
Well, there's a little.
Too much pottery.
There's a little. Let's just say I haven't looked Bevo in the eye since you got here.
Oh, you've been staring.
There's a little. I'm not staring. I look away.
You got to stare to find it.
It's just that when I look over, I haven't found her face yet.
Thanks, Tasty.
That's all. But it's warm. I mean, it's not slutty if it's hot. Outside. It's hot outside.
I got you.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
All right. Dustin Peters.
Dustin Peters.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
There we go. All right, 888-401-BEER is the number. Looks like I might have another drunk of the week. You're writing weird messages to me, Bevo, about our next caller, ZZ in San Diego. Go ahead.
San Diego, a whale's vagina. It's from Anchorman.
No, I
totally
forget
missed
it.
that joke.
Sorry, I don't watch TV for a living.
Neither do I.
Like your husband
I
does.
just have a social media. Okay, that's fair.
ZZ, what's happening, brother?
Hey, man, that's not my name for the drawing.
No,
What's going on?
I'm sorry, but we don't cheat. We just grab what we grab, and sometimes we grab balls, and sometimes we grab somebody else's name. It just happens that way.
Okay, I'll take the balls.
All right, ZZ, you're calling in for Drunk of the Week. Tell us, plead your case.
I have had, let's see, I kept the bottles, of course. Of course, I've had Allagash. I had a 750 Grand Cru.
Good beer, right?
For each. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
For each of the Shiner Commemorator, their 100th anniversary beers, and 4 of the Celis Whites, and still working on another of the...
750s?
No, God, no.
These are 16 ounces that fit.
The little...
Still walking. I mean...
Okay.
No, 12 ounce of the Shiners and the Celis, but 750 of the Allagash Grand Cru.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, you're off to a good start, ZZ. Is what I think is going to be the case here.
I know it's very few times I can actually listen live, so I figured I'd throw in when I can.
Well, I appreciate that, and I want to mention something in terms of ZZ and can't listen live all the time. We like new callers calling in. We like new Drunk of the Week callers too. I mean, a lot of guys. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't call in multiple times if you've been really working hard at Drunk of the Week. By all means, keep it up. But it's fun to hear from new guys, even if you're not totally hammered. I like to hear what's happening. And there have been weeks where a guy like ZZ has won Drunk of the Week. Yeah, if other guys out there aren't really jumping off cliffs with their beer drinking, then it's
happening. Believe me, I've heard those. I'm only a couple of weeks behind in the archives, and I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I just started a little late, I guess.
Yeah.
I started when you guys started.
Okay.
It's okay to be a late bloomer.
It is okay. Take Bevo and Sam for example. They didn't even French kiss for like 8 years after they met. And it was a very uncomfortable time. You could cut through the air in the room with a knife.
Really, nobody wants to think of that. Anyway,
well, ZZ, you are in the running, my brother.
All right.
I'm going to put you in there. Thank you for the call.
Bye.
Cheers. All right, ZZ from San Diego. A local. 888-401-BEER. That's the number. Kind of waiting on Colin Kaminsky. I told him 8 o'clock, so we're still going to get our Colin brew tip. I like Colin's brew tips, by the way. I think they're short and they're sweet, and guy's such a brainiac that I think he really...
Yeah, that's why you listen, because he does speak really good.
What was last week? Dump your beer?
Last week was his carbonation one. The week before, I think, was the dump your beer.
Yeah.
Last week was carbonation, and he was talking about how to test it and really taste it and make sure,
right.
because of how important it is. He was really stressing how important carbonation is in beer, and I liked that he did that. Mm-hmm. All right, let me ask you guys about long shot. I'm 3 sheets.
Long shoe?
It's a long
2
sheet.
sheets, 3 sheets.
While we're waiting on Drunk of the Week calls, want to talk about long shot a little bit. Now, Tasty, you were the cellar master at long shot this year, as you were the year before.
Yeah, I think the year before that too. Yeah.
And then our very own Jamil Zainashev was, what is he? He's like the head judge guy, or he's just there?
Like, I don't know, the advisor.
He's the advisor.
Right.
So he does a lot of work organizing and getting it.
Yeah,
he does what he does.
Right.
So, and then Shat was there this year to help you.
He was assistant cellar master.
He was.
Oh, yeah, him and Randy Griggs, yeah.
Oh, and Randy, too. Also for more beer.
These are hard-working positions. I mean, these guys...
What do they do?
Everything. I didn't do anything all day. I mean, I might have walked in and said, we need category 11 in 5 minutes or something.
So they take it from where you've cellared it at the...
Yeah, well, they cellared it with me. Like, we spent, 4 or 5 evenings in the prior 3 weeks unpacking these ship packages, taking all the bubble wrap off and all the extra freaking tape and hair ties they put around the bottles and stuff to hold the bottle label on.
Yeah.
And when we took each bottle in, we put a sticker on the top and then one on the neck to identify it for the competition. So then we, get all those stickered and everything, and then we sort those into category. We do a major moving them around of all these. I think we had 388 entries or something like that.
Yeah, and you're talking, 4 bottles.
Yeah.
Each.
Okay. Right. A lot of beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of bottles move around. So we did all that, and so once we got that ready, then we had it shipped over to the hotel in Oakland. It's the very same hotel we're going to be doing the national conference.
Which is kind of good. You got a prelim of how it's... Because you're also cellar master.
Yeah, we were in the same refrigeration space. We're going to be in
spot.
there. So, we got to...
You'll be doing the second round of nationals.
Exactly. It'll be very, very similar, and a lot of the same people will be doing it because, of course, it's here.
Except not Shat, because I will be slave driving him
he won't have his
all
service.
week long.
No, I'll
Yes.
have to get somebody else.
Yeah.
But Randy will be there. So
okay, that's good.
Got the freight elevator working.
Yeah, we did the freight elevator thing. It's it's pretty almost like
Almost
manual.
got stuck in that thing, but
Almost had to pull a
You
lever.
did?
It's a whole nother story.
I would have loved that.
Well, it's got front doors, back doors, and you press up.
If you get stuck, call in and leave a message on the BN line, would you? So that we can,
We all had beer, though.
I gotta make sure that you guys are constantly thinking about audio. I try to drive this into your heads, but
that never gets in the. Never comes. Yeah, never
as things fail and break down, this is the time you should be calling and leaving messages either on my cell phone or wherever, because that's the stuff we want to hear about.
There's some
just reiterating.
Really good seminars going on while we were there this weekend as well.
Oh, yeah? Oh, it was...
the other things?
There was a whole Men Perfecting Men seminar at the Marriott this week. In fact, I took a picture of their logo, their banner. It's a nice banner. It's like two men's fingers touching. It's, they were Men Perfecting Men.
And then right next door was How to Become a Millionaire. I said, I don't know, something.
Really?
It's a pyramid thing.
Yeah.
I don't know which
great.
one I would have gone to. That's a tough choice.
The women were much better in the pyramid thing.
Do I want to be perfected by a man, or do I want to be a millionaire? It's a tough choice. You know what I'm saying, guys?
Well, if you're a millionaire, you wouldn't care.
Anyways, that was pretty entertaining.
All right.
It was. Anyway, so we got him judged, and we took us all day, but I think by like 6 o'clock, they finished the best of show panel and picked the winner.
Okay.
Yeah. And
what do we? So you guys know the winner.
Well, yeah,
but we're not allowed to give out the winner because
Sam Adams hasn't contacted the winner.
Okay, so they do the official contact.
Now, I will tell you this: that the winner's name and the state that they're from matches a BN listener's
really
name and state.
So another BNer is.
I'm not saying for sure. I mean, there's a lot.
Could be. 90%. Would you say?
Yeah, unless there's 6,000 Herb Finkelsteins or something. No, that's not his name.
Right.
But, I mean, it's a pretty, it's a name that could be duplicated. Who knows? So I don't know.
But you're pretty confident, Tasty, that a BNer has won our region.
I think that's very likely.
Yeah.
How great is it if we own this competition?
Well, could we talk about the style of beer?
Well, no, I don't want to get too specific.
So,
yeah.
All right, we'll have to wait.
Somebody will figure it out.
We were hoping.
I don't want anybody that fits some profile that I might get out with hints to
Anyway,
could be a BNer.
If you entered, you have a chance. So
Yes.
It's a limited group too.
Okay.
And thank you for sending all those entries in. They were definitely appreciative.
Sam Adams was very, very aware that the number of entries
from the BN
really drove up their count, which is why they bought the spots on the show.
All right, let's take a moment to talk about it. And this is, guys, listeners, this is the deal, and this is your credit 100%. Okay,
absolutely.
We ran their ads late because the ads came in a little bit late. We wanted to up entries to show them that the Brewing Network, it's really an important force when it comes to these kind of things, and you did that. You listened to the ads. You listened to us say, enter this competition. You listened to us say you could be the next Tasty, is what I think happened.
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty much.
One of you might be.
Whatever it was, even if it was just that you sent in a beer because you like listening to the show and you knew it was the right thing to do, and it paid off. They understood that their entries, I think they even may have doubled because of the BN and because of you guys responding, even under short notice of us asking you to do it. And that's the kind of stuff that there's nothing else I can say but thank you, and you rock.
Absolutely.
How great is that?
Oh,
so
unbelievable.
That's the power of the BN. We are a power.
Well, the listeners are the power.
That's what I'm saying. It's a collective group. It's not us. We're just talking about it.
Give yourselves a round of applause for doing that and for and making a good showing. So, if you hear Sam Adams support this show in the future, you can pat yourselves on the back and you can thank yourselves, and we will be thanking you because it was as a direct result of that kind of support. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's some great beers there. I mean, that's
Really?
the beauty of being in the cellar. after the beers are kind of poured. Well, some of them, I mean, they're sitting out there all day, but I mean, if
nobody knows what you're
if you
doing
can get
back
in there and they're left over, and the ones that didn't move on, I mean, there's still a lot of tasty beers in there. So
Yeah.
you could just help yourself, and everyone's kind of tasting them and talking about them, and it's fun just to talk about beer. And you get this panel of judges to come over. They just got done, writing.
Yeah.
So they just come over and they start talking about what they were trying and what they were doing, and it's pretty cool. It's a great process and well organized. And Sam Adams just does such a great job. They really do.
Yeah.
And it was just breakfast and lunch and take care of everyone, and everything's there. I mean, paper, pens.
Yeah, it's the best beer competition around.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, let's go to Beer from Utah calling in for Drunk of the Week. Beer, what's happening, brother?
Beer.
I hear.
Right.
I feel you. I know what you're saying.
Catchy, very catchy.
So, I might be drunk as hell, but tasty being the long shot, I mean, how do you not derive any sexual connotation out of that? I'm just saying.
How do you not derive any?
Tasty is a long shot.
Tasty is a long shot. Yeah, that's probably right.
The problem is we don't have JP here with stupid jokes for everything we say. We're missing all these perfect opportunities.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you are missed, JP. We'll tell you that right now.
Absolutely.
All right, give us your resume for Drunk of the Week, please.
I have had 2 750 milliliters of the Red Rock Brewing Company Rev, which is a Belgian triple out of Salt Lake City, Utah.
All right.
1,500 milliliters triple.
And then I did a 5-pack. I had to splurge a little bit. I had to do a 5-pack of the Hazed and Infused from Boulder Brewing.
Good beer. Oh. I like that beer.
And I'm working on my 7th, 8th, 9th beer of the Zion Canyon Brewing Company.
Of who?
Oh, Zion Canyon.
Oh, Zion. Oh, yeah, we've got that here.
Yeah.
Well, that's the beer I sent you guys.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
And you're working on your 9th.
They're short pours, so I wouldn't give me full 12 ounces, but I'd give me 11 at least.
There's a lot of beer going on there.
Yeah, you're serious.
Well, it's 4-point beer.
Mm-hmm. Can you do any tricks or anything? Any stupid human tricks?
As I'm sitting here in the chat room, I'm standing on my head on top of a 55-barrel drum of acid. How does that work?
That's a good trick.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Are we talking LSD or sulfuric?
They don't even print that shit on the side of these barrels. I don't.
So who knows?
Just some random barrel. Hell, I know that.
The dog fell in there. It's gone.
Yeah. Well, if you dip your head in there and you start to see rainbows and unicorns, it's the good kind. If it hurts like fuck, you're in trouble. Yeah.
Well, it'll definitely hurt like fuck. I know that much.
Well, I'll tell you what. Beer.
Justin, I'm one of those articulate drunks, much like you.
That's all right. I'm starting to accept you guys more and more because, especially when you give me a list like that.
We had this conversation a little while ago, and whatever the fuck. If you have to sound good to get the women home,
right?
And you have to sound good, and if you're a bumbling idiot like I am, then
you drink.
You bumble and you throughout the day.
Yeah, I'm drunk as shit right now, but I could read you Shakespeare. It's all fine. All right, tell you what, I've gotten beer at the top of my list right now.
Yeah, me too.
I think that list is impressive, and I don't know, I like him. He's a nice guy.
so hey, there's a bunch of people chatting up Polygamy Porter in the chat room.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had your spin at that shit or...
I've had it.
Polygamy Porter? Polygamy.
Polygamy Porter.
Okay. Polygamy.
I've had it. Yep.
It's good enough. My buddy works up at the brewer house up in Wasatch in Park City. But
yeah. But you're not a fan? Is that what you're saying?
What's that?
But you're not a fan? What's the controversy here?
Well, I'll take a Polygamy over anything else that they have on tap in any of the other brew pubs and bullshit around town.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is good beer.
We need to put some of the other Wasatch beer in your hands. They've got a Winterfest, they've got a Wit, they've got a couple other different things, the Devastator, so on and so forth.
Hey, anytime, we'll take it. All right, top of the list, my friend.
Big kiss.
Cheers. Oh, kisses even.
He might drink that beer before we get it.
Yeah. He's a drinker. I mean, that's a list right
couple
there.
750s to start out. That's a big deal.
Yeah, he's not doing bad. 888-401-BEER if you want to get in the running. We're getting a nice showing of Drunks of the Week. We haven't, nobody's over the top, but maybe it's just a mellow Sunday. Maybe people are drinking, but it's not in the air to be wild. Is it like a crescent moon
everywhere.
or something? It's
it must be hot everywhere.
Yeah.
That's it. Probably not in Utah.
That certainly could be the case. We also need to give away some Belgian candy sugar tonight, fellas, and love giving away the Belgian candy sugar. Please keep in mind, in order to win, you have not won Belgian candy sugar from us before. Also, you're going to give us feedback about how you use it. We really want to know how this. It's a relatively new product, and we want to know how it's worked out for you. It's worked out great for the brewcasters. So, what do you got, Bevo?
ZZ's on the phone again. He just wants to make sure he's not falling behind.
I see. I kind of want to keep... Oh, Jesus. Hi, ZZ.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Good. What's happening?
What's going on there?
Just...
keeping it real.
Hello.
Yeah. All right.
We're sleeping here.
So put ZZ back at the top of the list for this phone call. You want to make sure we know that you're in the running?
Just hoping I'm still there. Yeah, exactly.
You're still up there. Oh, you're in the running. I got you
All
here.
of a sudden, there's more bottles on my table, so I just wanted to make sure.
You want to add to your
they
list?
were there.
You can add to your list. Go ahead. Give us an update.
It's the 6 bottles of Celis White, 4 Shiner, the Commemorator, and the 1 750 of Allagash Grand Cru.
Okay. All right. You're still on the list.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
All right, ZZ.
Bye.
He's working hard. I like that. I like the effort. Multiple calls, not so much, but you know what? He just wants to make sure. He's putting in a strong effort. Tough competition this week because it's not that they're overly hammered.
No,
it's that they want it.
They're handling it well.
They really want it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's
right.
They understand the importance of the medal.
Exactly.
And they're trying hard to earn it.
Whatever. They just need to take a couple to the head and then call in. If I can understand what you're saying when you call in, you're not drunk enough.
Bevo makes a good point.
Bevo's there. She's like
makes
the
a good
gatekeeper.
Point. Wow. Well, I hope that you're going to wear your medal around NHC with pride.
I absolutely will.
Yeah, okay.
As will everybody else that's won
Except
one.
I lost it, so I need a new one. No, I left it in the studio, and I think you had just added it to the...
We might have sent it to somebody. Somebody out there might have the Bevo medal, and they don't even know it.
Yeah, smell it.
Does it smell like feet?
Yes, it smells like cheesy feet. Cheesy feet and salty cleavage. If it does, it's
Send
probably...
it back. We need it.
It's probably Chad's.
Yeah.
Another call?
Yeah, they weren't there.
Okay.
All right.
You probably overheard my rant and decided to take a couple to the head.
Looks like I got Blobber Bleepy Bloop.
Uh-oh.
Trying to call in on the Skype. Do his own.
That's good. That gets his full range of voice. Or is that a small range?
We don't have his BFF yet.
Oh.
But I had an idea this because I don't know if we can do the whole prize thing. I don't know if we have an extra ticket to give away all that stuff. I was kind of thinking we should make Doc his BFF. Two little guys.
It might just happen, though.
One with a high voice. That's what I'm saying.
Just let it happen, man.
Like, Doc makes friends with guys like Blobber all the time.
I see.
Just inadvertently. Hey, Blobber.
Hi.
Blobber's been practicing his deep voice all week.
Yeah, that's pretty low, Blob.
What's happening?
Oh, man.
I can't wait for the bus tour, mostly because of Blobber.
Yeah, we'll have to do all the announcements.
Yeah, Blobber will do all the announcements on the bus
if he
tour.
gets through customs.
Yeah. All right, what's going on?
Well, I've been shopping today, and I've been looking at, gag balls and leather straps and bondage stuff, and I was wondering about my BFF.
Yeah.
And Stephanie left me a message in the chat room. She wants to read some essays. She wants to be in on this and all that.
You mean she wants to apply to be your BFF?
Well, she wants to vote to who will be my BFF.
Yeah. And
I think her vote counts more than GP's.
I could agree with you on that. Well, we've taken a few applications, and by the way, when are you going to fix your goddamn microphone, Blobber Glob? How many phone calls do I have to endure like this before you go buy a new headset?
I got a good headset. It's Skype. I don't know what it is. Do you think it's my headset?
I don't know what it is either, but...
Just don't do it on a trampoline or something.
Well, when you move around, I think it cuts out or something.
It's like you're blowing dudes at the same time. I can't figure it out.
No dudes here.
Okay, I'll just check it. So, yeah, well, we're still working on your whole BFF situation. I'm not sure how we're going to do this yet, but, you know.
It doesn't have to be a contest. I mean, isn't it worth it to just be chained to me?
It is. I agree with you.
Absolutely.
I totally agree with you. And Stephanie will definitely be allowed to vote on your BFF. We said that in the beginning. She can definitely come in here when we decide BFF for you, which will probably be like the week before the show or something. You know, we might have to have people take shifts, Blobber, because let's face it, you know, you could be a lot to handle for one person.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I mean, I'm plenty of me to go around. You know,
BFF he embraces change. Blobber does.
I like multiple BFFs. I got two hands. I mean, we can.
We could make a little blobber pie, a little blobber sandwich BFF.
The disgusting mental pictures that I just got were amazing.
I think what's going to happen is as long as there's always somebody chained to Blobber, that's what's important. It doesn't have to be the same person. As long as there's always somebody handcuffed to the kid, then we're in good shape. Then I think we've succeeded. And you agree with that, Blobber?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as I have something connected to me.
Good enough. And bring all the stuff you went shopping for today too, please.
No problem.
All right, later.
All right, bye.
Yeah. There he is. Blobber in a wind tunnel.
I love him.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do our Colin Kaminsky tip. How about that?
Yeah.
Get our beer tip done. I got to give away some Belgian candy sugar.
Great.
You said tip.
Beer information alert.
And then we got to vote on Drunk of the Week.
And there's a potential Drunk of the Week call on
hold.
Line. Yeah, it's Kim. Wood.
Kim Beer Lady.
I said Wood.
Should have Colin help us out with our Drunk of the Week voting,
yeah.
maybe. Although I don't know that he's heard the other callers, you know.
He can still help.
All right, while I'm waiting for Colin to connect, let's talk to Kim here and see what happens. Hey, Kim, what's going on? Drunk of the Week?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
All right.
Maybe. Let's see. Let's talk about it.
All right, give me your resume.
Well, all right. Piano Pot.
By the way, I like that Kim's called in this week instead of Wood, because Wood...
Shit, I think I called in just so that he wouldn't. Because, like, good Lord, I've told that guy, like, don't fucking call in, man. You're busting my balls. And he sneaks off. He, like, hides in the trees and shit.
It's like putting, you know, like a fresh can of dog food on the floor and telling your dog not to eat it. Like, I can see Wood on the couch just trying to jump for the phone. Like, he's just like he's on the line. He's, like, ready to go. And so Kim finally's like, I better pick up the phone before the kid hurts himself.
I don't know what to do. So, yeah. Okay, so it's either Drunk of the Week or I want to fucking get the Belgian candy sugar that Wood won like a couple months ago. Because he bitches about it all the time. He's like, they never fucking send it to me.
Yeah.
And really, the one good Belgian beer he made was with Belgian candy sugar, so I'm just hoping that he can make another good one.
By the way, for a young lady who works with retards, you got a bad mouth.
Oh, whoa! You shouldn't use that word, man.
Sorry, but you got a potty mouth.
Sorry, I'll clean it up a little bit.
All right.
So, okay, wait. All right. Panapot, Hop Slam, Hop Stupid, New Belgium Arrow, Homebrew Stout, Three Philosophers, some Belgian something or other. You know.
Shared with Wood or solo?
A little bit of both.
Yeah, you're not drunk, Kim. We've heard you drunk before.
Well, I know.
It sounded like this, but you still don't sound very drunk right now.
Well, how about the candy sugar?
Yeah, here's the deal with the candy sugar. You know, we submit the entries to the to Dark Candy, and they ship it to you as soon as they get a chance. So it's actually direct shipped from the company. The information has been submitted, and you'll get it.
Right.
I promise you get it. But, that's kind of the nature of prizes and free shit. It'll get there.
Just allow 6 weeks.
You
to
have
deliver.
my word that I will, if it doesn't get there, I'll make sure it gets there. But some of the timeliness when we're dealing with sponsors, we got to let them do their thing. So
I'll tell Andy to keep his nutters on about it.
yeah, and tell him to shut the fuck up while you're at it.
I do that all the time, but he doesn't listen. You guys have to help me out.
And what's this nonsense about the two of you aren't on the bus, by the way?
Oh man, I couldn't handle that. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't blame you.
That's a crazy mess right there. There's going to be DNA flying all over that bus. I can't handle that. I do enough in my work life.
You're going to leave Bevo alone with a bunch of DNA.
Yeah.
Oh, Bevo's going to be there?
I have to wear my bio suit.
She's hosting it with us. Yeah.
Bevo, wear like rain slickers and shit.
Going to. I'm going to have to bust out my pig flu mask.
Oh.
I'll be there to clean up the mess at the end of the.
Just have a hose ready.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Good.
You guys have a good night.
I'll put you in the running, Kim, but you're not going to win.
All right. Whatever.
Later.
Later. Bye.
Good calls from the woods. Okay. Hey, Colin, how are you, my brother?
I'm good, Justin. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How's the heat treating you up there in Napa?
I hid in the movie theater all day.
What'd you see?
I saw the new Star Trek.
I saw it last week, and listen, I'm no Trekkie. I loved that damn movie.
Well, then you are.
I loved it. How'd you like it, Colin? You're a nerdier guy than me.
It was the best addition to the Star Trek franchise that's ever happened.
It is, right? And
yeah, absolutely.
I've only seen a couple of the movies, maybe 3 of them, but I said the same thing. Of everything I've seen, best one yet. Really good. I'm glad that a geek like Colin likes it, too, because it kind of validates my opinion about it. Like, he's got more street cred when it comes to Star Trek, in my opinion.
I thought it was as much better than Next Generation as Next Generation was better than the original series.
Agreed. I agree with that. This is my nerd side coming out. And my only regret is that I didn't see it on IMAX. It was sold out, but I may go see it a second time just so I can watch it on IMAX.
The last time I saw IMAX, it was a Rolling Stones concert, and seeing Mick Jagger's lips 10 feet tall kind of just did me in.
And wide.
Yeah, that was a bad idea on your part. I don't know what you were thinking there.
I think my girlfriend drugged me in. We were at some amusement park that had IMAX. It was the only thing I've ever seen in IMAX.
I saw... Oh, I know what I saw. I saw 300 in IMAX. And, the one with the gladiators and the gay one. It was good. I liked it in IMAX. It was really good. A lot of big bare chests and stuff,
The one that everyone says is really good is the ones filmed on the space shuttle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've heard that stuff's really good, too. It's like you're out in space yourself. You know what that's like, Tasty.
Yeah, most of the
time. Yeah. All right, Colin, have you got a brew tip for us today?
I do. With all the hop crises that went on last year and kind of going on this year,
sure.
I thought maybe we'd talk a little bit about hops today.
All right, good. I like it.
Okay, here we go. So hops are very fragile. Storing them correctly is very important. The enemies of hops are heat, light, and oxygen. When I buy hops, they're vacuum-packed in Mylar bags, and the Mylar protects the hops from light and oxygen. Then all I've got to do is keep them cold. If you're only using a partial bag, you need to figure out the best way to store the bag. If you can flush the bag with CO2 and reseal it, you're doing great. But at least you need to get as much air out as possible, put the package in a Ziploc bag, and store your hops in the freezer. It's really important when we look at the storage of hops. Even a 2-degree difference makes a big difference in alpha acids after a year. When you open a previously open bag of hops, the first thing to do is smell it. If it smells like Parmesan cheese, then either discard it or save it for the Belgian brew you've been planning.
Good tip. Colin Kaminsky from Downtown Joe's. I like the idea, I always seal my hops in a Ziploc bag, but can't we purge that with CO2 and then seal it in a Ziploc
fill it full
bag?
of CO2, then just press all that out, and you'll get, mostly just...
That's better than nothing. Ziploc bags are really oxygen permeable.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Yeah, so that's why, you see Mylar out there in the trade is because Mylar blocks the oxygen much better.
Yeah.
I've got some hops right now in Ziploc bags at the brewery, but, they only get in the bag for about a week, and then I use them up.
Okay.
I don't have any way of sealing Mylar at the brewery. I have to run down to More Beer if I want to seal Mylar.
Use their little heat sealers, yeah. Well, and I guess I also really like the last part of your tip, especially in terms of today's show. If you can't, and you're not going to be able to use those hops for your next fresh beer, well, don't throw them out. Hops are hard to come by, so hang in there and brew your next Belgian beer with them, or sour beer like Chad's starting to do. Do a nice sour beer with those old hops. You don't have to toss them because they're old. You just have to.
I had some East Kent Goldings hops, and they'd been in my freezer for, my home freezer for 3 or 4 years. And I'm thinking, okay, these things are done. I'm going to toss them. And I was talking to Mike, who used to weld over at More Beer. And he's like, no, don't throw them out. And I said, oh, man, they're going to smell like Parmesan cheese. He says, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for in my Belgian.
Oh, yeah.
So, I gave them to him, and he made a phenomenal beer out of them. So, it's nothing that I'm skilled at as a brewer, but the people that are can really make some interesting flavors from older hops. And in fact, I've talked to Belgian brewers who will not take and use fresh hops. They have to leave the bags open for about a week in order for them to off-gas all those terrible flowery aromas.
I think the Ewoks are back, Colin.
Yeah, I think my 2-year-old finished her popsicle. So that must mean it's the end of my appearance today.
Yeah. Hey, that's all right. Well, we'll see you in a couple of Sundays, though. We're going to be at Downtown Joe's live. Colin will be our guest, of course, and we'll be hanging out at Downtown Joe's. So come out and see us, and I can't wait to be there, Colin.
Thanks, Justin. I can't wait to have you.
All right, brother. See you soon.
See ya.
Cheers.
There you go. Colin Kaminsky, hardworking guy, spending some family time with us to give us brew tips. How about that?
It's great.
I really like that guy.
Yeah.
He makes me feel very inferior because he's got a giant brain.
Yeah.
But he's so nice. I really
he's fun
like
to talk to, just even one-on-one, he's fun to see.
Yeah. He's a good time. All right, we got Hop Man from St. Louis calling in for Drunk of the Week, guys. Hop Man, what's happening, brother?
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
We're doing all right.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I just took a Quaalude, man.
Yeah.
Sounds like on the floor, fetal position.
So, apparently I'm on there.
Give us a resume, Hop Man.
Oh my lord! Let's start with
Lordy.
Have you ever heard of a Flanders? Oh my
Red?
God! Let me
Brown?
walk all over the fucking way there.
You ever heard of a lager? I think I had a lager.
No, here it is. Flanders Primitive Wild Ale.
Oh, never heard of it. Okay.
Wild Ale?
No, it's fucking awesome, by the way.
Okay, good. Good.
Yeah, try 3 of those.
Times 3, got it.
750 milliliters.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. And Boulevard has put out a wonderful line of what they call the smokestack. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Never.
Anyway, a double line.
You said Boulevard?
Boulevard
Brewing, sure. Right there in St. Louis.
Wonderful. They've got a wonderful line of what they're calling.
My life is wonderful. Their beer is wonderful.
Anyway, I had about 12 of those.
Yeah.
12?
Actually, I take that back. 3 of those. But it seems like
I lose count. Yeah. All right.
Well, and some Bear Republic Racer 5.
Oh, good choice. Near and dear to my heart. I like Racer 5.
Okay, hey, we're going with the Racer 5. Then I had a Racer. It's called a Racer X.
X, yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
Another good one.
Got them all.
Yeah.
I think that's like the double 5 there, or some shit.
That's 10, yeah, right.
The
X means
what?
10.
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from St. Louis, Missouri.
Cool.
I hate the place, but hey, I'm stuck here.
You do?
Nah, I really don't care for St. Louis, but hey, they got great beer, and I have a job, so let's move
Sounds
on.
like he's running outside.
Good thing it's close to the
traffic.
airport.
Yeah.
Don't go into traffic.
Well, guess what?
God. Here comes the... what?
Drunk of the week, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kick ass, man.
Yeah.
You win.
Hot Man from Missouri is our drunk of the week today.
No shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got it. You owned it. God damn it. I mean, I liked our callers today, but you owned it.
Oh, yeah. Unbearded, great, but no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, is that Tracy there?
Yeah, here you go. So go, man.
It is Tracy.
Hey, Tracy, I brewed I brewed what is it, Pliny the Younger, like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, cool.
And I blew my carboy apart.
Blew it apart, huh? You have to,
Yeah, apparently I left it at a friend's house, and I told him... there he is.
G to the A to the ST.
Pull over instead of the airlock, and guess what? He put 7 over the airlock.
blew it out of there, huh?
Fucking blew it to pieces.
I fucking wrecked that shit.
So what was your starting gravity on that beer? Maybe you made it too big.
It was about 120.
1-1, yeah, sure.
Wow.
It was like 400.
You are making the younger.
Man.
That was Tasty's fault.
Yeah, that's supposed to be 90.
Yeah.
Hey, man, it was still an awesome beer.
Sounds great, man. Well, you put all that goodness.
Finished.
All right, man.
Anyway, yeah, we scraped it off the cement floor there and bottled it. Hell.
Yeah, drunk of the week, my brother. Send me your information, Justin at thebrewingnetwork.com. You'll get your medal.
Justin, you win. Got me information. Where's my BN medal and my kinky sugar?
Kinky sugar?
Did you win before?
Yes, I've won before.
Oh, well,
drunk of the week?
Now it changes things.
I won drunk of the week like 4 weeks ago.
Uh-oh.
Now we'll put him in the running for drunk of the year then. Fuck it. He really was the clear winner. Well, if it hasn't arrived yet, we'll send 2. How about that?
Okay.
You want to leave it till you see it?
Okay, you mean...
I'll see it by the end of the year, right?
Compromise.
Wait a second. You mean the free shit's delayed? Shit.
The free shit is gone. It's delayed, man. I'll probably get it by the end of the year, right?
There you go.
Oh, my God. Are we done?
Out.
I do have to give away candy sugar.
All right, give it to me. Be quick.
Give it to Tasty.
I won't complain about not getting it.
Kind of wanted to give it to Colin. Colin doesn't homebrew anymore. He's too busy brewing.
That's the way most brewers are.
We'd get good feedback from Colin if we gave him the dark candy, the candy sugar.
You know, it's cool. Rob had something to say about when to add it. You know, that's different than when a lot of people are adding it to the fermenter.
Rob Todd,
He talking about it in the boil.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's different.
Although I don't know if they're using the syrup. Although he didn't
That's
tell
true.
us.
He didn't say
whether they were or not.
We're going to find out.
They could have been using the rock candy or the syrup. We really don't know. It's people are pretty secretive about that candy syrup stuff.
I'm trying to figure it out. Tasty stuff, though.
I really don't want to stay on the air. I just got to give away this candy sugar.
Bevo can do something.
You can give it to me, and I'll brew it in like 5 years.
How about this? Here's what we're going to do.
Or in 2 weeks.
Since Beer was such a good runner-up.
Yeah, he's close second. Yeah.
You know, his lineup was good, and he seemed to really want it. So... beer. Send me your information. You're the winner of our dark candy. We'll send you some dark candy. Beer. Justin at thebrewingnetwork.com. Just give me your address. I'll send it along to you, brother. Piece of cake, nothing to it. So there you go. That's our dark candy winner. Let's get out of this studio, huh, kids? God damn it, it's warm.
Sounds like ball sweat in here.
Yeah, don't forget we're off next week. It's Memorial Day weekend, and we're going to take the Tasty. You feel free to do things like a normal human being who doesn't work for
another
free.
Life. Okay,
yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Go ahead and do something else. Bevo, I expect you to be here though, but there's no show. Just there's other things that have to be done, yard work.
I think I'll take that.
I'm
day
gonna be
off
in
too.
Washington.
Yeah, now, Chad, you also have to work.
I'll take that day off too.
Okay, done. Chad's got a lot of days off in his future.
That's why I said I'll take that one.
You had a little change of plans on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that, a pink something? What do they call that?
Chad has several days off in his future.
Right.
365, maybe?
Indefinitely, it looks like to me.
You have to figure that out.
A lot of brewing in my schedule.
A lot of brewing in Chad's future. So Chad's going to brew tomorrow, and then I'm going to brew on Tuesday. I'm going to brew. I'm brewing for the anniversary party, kids.
Thanks
Look out.
for the warning.
Look out. Watch it.
What's it going to be?
Blonde ale.
Oh, beer.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were going to make root beer.
Coffee. I'm brewing coffee. Brewing up a batch of coffee for Chad to brew.
It's going to be good. That'll be fun.
Yeah, so we're off next week. Don't tune in. The week after that, we're at Downtown Joe's for a live remote. The week after that, we're at the Monterey Beer Festival. So a lot of exciting shows coming up. So stick with us and, pay attention. We'll tell you what's going on. Don't forget to visit our sponsors. Thank them.
Yep.
Buy some shit.
Yeah. Yep. Click on a beaker. Buy a beaker.
Buy a beaker.
Buy a beaker. All right, Beef.
They're orphan beakers. They need help.
Thank you. See you later.
Give me a wheat beer on a hot summer day. A mark will do me when the skies are gray. I'll take a Belgian brew anytime, and the women think the lambic fine. But don't you give me that American crude, boys, I want a real home brew. Home brew, don't you really love it that a home brew? Can't get enough of it. Home brew, it blows my mind. I love home brew all of the time. Yeah, I think I'll have me, well, I'm the one right now. Cherry stout, yeah, you know what I am talking about. So don't you give me that American crude, boys, I want a real home brew. Home brew, don't you really love it, that home brew? Can't get enough of it. Home brew, it blows my mind.